Chapter 2160, Fighting Against Lei Dong Tian. Brother Lin, you killed many of our people. Do you think Golden Mountain can still protect you only because you're wearing their robe? Do you think the Devamara Thunder clan won't dare kill you? Swore Lei Dong Tian coldly, looking at Lin Feng like a dead man. I really do think so. Am I wrong? Would the Devamara Thunder clan really dare kill me? Said Lin Feng with a smile yet not a smile, looking back at Lei Dong Tian. He then said calmly, however, if you want to exchange views on cultivation with me, Brother Lei, we can. We are both potential candidates for the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds, nothing prevents us from exchanging views on cultivation. We can ask for the 4 influential groups to supervise the battle, and we can agree on a battle to the death. When Lei Dong Tian heard Lin Feng's mocking tone, he was even more infuriated. He waved and the strong cultivators of the Devamara Thunder clan moved towards the strong cultivators of the Pellet King's clan. Suddenly, the sky was filled with terrifying Devamara Kulpa strength. Interesting. I'd love to see, Brother Lin, what makes you so confident, Lei Dong Tian said calmly. He stretched out his hand and Kulpa lights appeared and surrounded his own body. The Kulpa lights contained a terrifying destructive strength. Lei Dong Tian was the strongest young man of the Devamara Thunder clan. He was probably extraordinary. He was also curious to see how strong some of the new geniuses in Godly Cloud City were. Terrifying demon cosmic energies surrounded Lin Feng's body. However, he didn't use Kulpa lights to do that, he used pure demon strength. He suddenly looked like an ancient demon. He stood there with his hands clasped behind his back. The 2 cultivators' demon energies collided in the air. It looked incredible. Lei Dong Tian's eyes gradually became pitch black. They looked more and more terrifying. His eyes were filled with Kulpa strength. Sharp lights emerged from his eyes and shot towards Lin Feng, turning into Kulpa light beams. He wanted to kill Lin Feng. Lin Feng's eyebrows looked like swords. Sword intent condensed in his eyes, Wisdom King Holy Spirits condensed and turned into indestructible Wisdom Kings. The energies emerging from the 2 fighters' eyes collided loudly. Their energies could easily kill ordinary emperors. Lei Dong Tian took a step forwards and a demon appeared. His blood started boiling, and the air went dark. Everything seemed like it was going to be destroyed under their energies. Demon Kulpa swords appeared above Lin Feng's head, much more powerful than Lin Feng's Kulpa swords. It was a special kind of strength the members of the Devamara Thunder clan had, since they had the full version of the Kulpa indestructible Devamara skill. They had all sorts of demon skills, and were experts in using demon energies. A gigantic demon sword appeared. It seemed to be alive. Die, shouted Lei Dong Tian coldly. Demon Kulpa swords charged towards Lin Feng, looking like pitch-black thunders. Lin Feng was surrounded sword intent, all sorts of Holy Spirit swords condensed around him. He also punched out with physical strength. His terrifying energies astonished the crowd. This guy's punch is filled with demon sword energies, how crazy. The crowd was shaking, the space began to break. The demon lights pierced through the demon sword, the oppressive Devamara strength was destroyed, and the sky became normal again. Lei Dong Tian moved again, trying not to look worried. He didn't want to show how he felt. Lin Feng was strong, that was a fact. Lei Dong Tian's gigantic Devamara wings appeared. They contained terrifying demonic marks, and his hands turned into demon Kulpa claws. He looked dangerous, the crowd was taken aback. His chi became far more powerful. A fearsome demon appeared in the crowd's field of vision. Demons charged towards Lin Feng. If Lin Feng had been an ordinary cultivator, he would have died already. Lei Dong Tian flapped his Devamara wings and suddenly disappeared. A demon Kulpa hand charged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng felt a pressure, as if the claws were about to rip into him. However, Lin Feng looked calm and composed, as if nothing could affect him. He punched out in his enemy's direction, the air shaking at the blow. Demon deployment lights surged out. However, Lei Dong Tian disappeared and more claws shot towards Lin Feng from above. Terrifying energies made the earth and sky shake. People's hearts started pounding. The two fighters had already collided a few times. Behind Lin Feng, deployment lights started intertwining. Very quickly, they turned into dazzling deployment wings. That Lin Feng is really strong. No wonder he defeated Wang Jia back then, murmured some spectators when they saw that, their hearts starting to beat faster. Lei Dong Tian was a member of the Devamara Thunder clan, his physical strength was incredible, as were his spells. However, Lin Feng looked unmoved. His physical strength was also incredible. Lin Feng definitely had the potential to participate in the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. He might even end up in the top 100. After all, Lei Dong Tian was the first young man of the Devamara Thunder clan. Not many people could compete with him. In Godly Cloud City, only 50 or so people could compete with him, but he was probably as strong as them, not weaker. He also had the potential to end up in the top 100. Since Lei Dong Tian had that potential, then Lin Feng did too. Lei Dong Tian attacked again, but this time it was Lin Feng who disappeared. Lin Feng reappeared in the sky and descended while saying to Lei Dong Tian, "You're not the only one who's fast. Very good, let's show you the Devamara Thunder clan spells." Lei Dong Tian jumped forwards. Demon intent surged up. Lei Dong Tian's intent was getting more and more powerful. Lin Feng glanced at the demon Kulpa lights. He released demon strength which turned into sharp swords, they seemed to be able to conquer every obstacle. Lei Dong Tian closed his eyes. He looked like a darkly enlightened being. Demons appeared around him. "Kulpa," said a voice coldly. At that moment, extremely powerful Kulpa lights surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng's muscles shook violently. His blood started boiling, and it was only the beginning. Lin Feng disappeared and shot towards Lei Dong Tian. However, Lei Dong Tian disappeared, and demons made of Kulpa strength appeared everywhere. Lei Dong Tian reappeared in the sky, opening his mouth and sucking in energy. He absorbed all the Kulpa strength, and turned into a Kulpa demon. The crowd was shaking. A Kulpa demon. Lin Feng looked up at him and smiled. If he used the Kulpa indestructible Devamara skill, perhaps it could help him become a saint in terms of physical strength. Lin Feng didn't have time to play around. Lei Dong Tian had the potential to become a participant of the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds, could he kill him in front of everybody? Lin Feng suddenly disappeared. The crowd was stupefied. Lin Feng stopped fighting. Lei Dong Tian put him under pressure, it seemed. The crowd looked at Lei Dong Tian, the first young man of the Devamara Thunder clan. He had absorbed Kulpa strength, and could easily kill ordinary great emperors. As expected, he was a terrifying presence. A strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder clan attacked, but Lin Feng turned into a hurricane and his cauldron's death strength filled the air. It destroyed the man's physical body and absorbed his soul, then Lin Feng smiled, "Brother Lei, I'm sure we'll meet again." He turned into a beam of light and departed quickly. Lei Dong Tian flashed down, could only look after him with murder in his eyes. When the crowd saw Lin Feng retreat, they were astonished. During the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds, would Lin Feng lose against him? Chapter 2161, Alliance in Golden Mountain. In the residential area for people who were from abroad, many people came to greet those who had the potential to be selected for the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Many of those potential candidates didn't understand and thought that it had something to do with the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. After all, they knew that Golden Mountain was one of the four influential groups. Since they were there, Golden Mountain had been chosen by the shrine. Among the people who had the potential to become candidates of the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds, many of them were already from Golden Mountain. The four influential groups had outstanding disciples. Their people were also going to sit the exam like the foreigners. Of course, what the shrine had done was advantageous for them. It was easier for them to be selected for the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. The foreigners weren't just pressured by the other foreigners, only but also by Golden Mountain's disciples. Prince Wu Qing and Jiu Ling Huang had the most magnificent palaces in Golden Mountain. Nobody had gone to see them, they had just heard that about the phenomenon. A few people from Golden Mountain were standing in front of a palace. They glanced around, and one of the young men asked, "Who have we forgotten?" An old man next to him replied, "One of them is Lin Feng. He's not bad, and he's also in Golden Mountain. You can go and see him. Make him join our group." "Is he in Golden Mountain now?" asked the young man. "I've been watching him." "Apparently, he's back," said the old man calmly. The young man's eyes twinkled and he smiled. "Good, call Bing, we'll go and invite him together." "All right," said the old man nodding. Then, his silhouette flickered. After a short time, a beautiful woman arrived. "Brother Zhen." "Bing, let's go invite someone," said the young man nodding at the girl. The three people's silhouettes flickered. The old man took them to Lin Feng's palace. When Lin Feng saw them arrive, he was surprised. These people were wearing different clothes, they were probably authentic members of Golden Mountain. "Lin Feng, I'm Jin Zhen and this is my fellow disciple Bing," said Jin Zhen, smiling at Lin Feng. "What do you want?" replied Lin Feng, smiling affably back. "In a few days, it will be the exam for the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Brother Lin Feng, we're here to invite you to come join our group," said Jin Zhen. Lin Feng looked surprised and said, "I don't understand." "Lin Feng, you don't understand what the exam of Golden Mountain is like, so it's normal that you don't understand. The second round of the selections consists of group fights. We want to form alliances of 10 people to eliminate the other alliances. That way, we can eliminate many people. 10 people fight against other groups. Who's considered a winner, then?" asked Lin Feng. He was curious now. Golden Mountain has different rules for the selection procedure. First, amongst the groups of 10 people, 5 people are eliminated, Bing told him. Half will be eliminated within a group. Lin Feng was startled. Jin Zhen nodded, "Indeed. But don't worry, among the people I chose, you're a hero. If you come to my palace, you'll definitely move on to the next round. Then, we'll eliminate people from other groups. Groups of 5 will fight. No, 3 people will be chosen to fight one-on-ones. If they win, then the 5 enemies will eliminated," said Jin Zhen. "The rules are cruel," said Lin Feng, eyeing Jin Zhen. "If my partners aren't strong enough, I'll lose too." "Indeed. Therefore, I came to invite you. Besides you, among the people I invited, there's also the first master of Jade Clouds, Yu Qing, and a very strong cultivator who has a king-type body. Coupled with me, Bing and you, we are 5, Wang Zhen smiled. Besides, brother Lin Feng, Bing and I aren't weak. The first master of Jade Clouds is also in Golden Mountain." Lin Feng's eyes twinkled. Golden Mountain was lucky. 3 of the first masters of the continent of the 9 Clouds were here. "Brother Lin Feng, don't worry. Everybody knows you in town. We mean you no harm. If you doubt our honesty, we can give you some great imperial weapons," Bing spoke up, smiling and playing with her hair. She was definitely beautiful. "Indeed. Brother Lin Feng, we believe in your strength, believe in our honesty," said Jin Zhen gently. Lin Feng, Jin Zhen and Bing are outstanding young people in Golden Mountain. They are the descendants of great weapon masters, spoke up the old man proudly. These people really looked honest. There was no pressure or intimidation. I don't need great imperial weapons, Lin Feng told them. Since you seem honest, I won't refuse. Awesome, Brother Lin. Thank you very much, said Jin Zhen, shaking hands with Lin Feng before smiling and taking a necklace out. This is the necklace of our alliance. It means you can come to our deployment palace whenever you want. On the day of the exam, we'll gather together. To avoid trouble, just put a thread of godly awareness inside. Alright, agreed Lin Feng. He understood. Since he had accepted an alliance with them, he had to do that, otherwise, if he went back on his word, it wouldn't be fair. Many people knew that such a thing was possible, so they tried to protect themselves. Lin Feng released a thread of godly awareness to swear he was going to respect the alliance. He didn't mind. As long as he didn't lose because of other people, everything was fine, especially since he was really strong and the exam would probably be easy for him. Awesome, Brother Lin, thank you, see you soon, said Jin Zhen, shaking Lin Feng's hand again. Bing smiled thinly and bowed before Lin Feng. Alright. Lin Feng nodded at the 3 people who left. They still needed to invite some more people. After they left Lin Feng's palace, Jin Zhen and Bing smiled. Jin Zhen said, Lin Feng is strong. With Yu Qing and the one who has a king-type body, we can be a terrifying group. The 5 others will just be cannon fodder. I'll be careful, said the old man nodding. If the 5 other people knew they were cannon fodder, how would they feel? However, that was the sad truth. The group round was complex in comparison with the previous one. 5 strong cultivators were going to be eliminated in each group. Bing, when the right time comes, it'll be sad for you, Zhen said to Bing. Alright, I don't mind, the most important ones are you and Yu Qing, Bing smiled. Jin Zhen nodded. After that, Lin Feng calmly waited for the beginning of the exam. A few of his fellow disciples had already arrived in Godly Cloud City. Some people had been blocked at the entrance of the city, including Jing Xiaoyu. Mu Qin stayed with Jing Xiaoyu. The saint was still with them. Lin Feng hoped the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds would help him become stronger. On the day of the exam, Lin Feng's robe suddenly fluttered in the wind, and a sound resonated in his brain. The voice asked him to come to the meeting point at noon. Lin Feng knew that the exam was going to start. At noon, the crowd had gathered by the stage. The strong cultivators of Golden Mountain were waiting already. There were many people. Everybody gather with your groups, said someone. Instantly, everybody gathered with their chosen teams. Lin Feng went over to Jin Zhen and Bing, and very quickly, they were 9 people. 2 of them looked extraordinary. One of them looked noble, strange, and indifferent. That was Yu Qing from Jade Clouds. The second one was wearing a golden robe, but his qi was abnormal. Some king intent filled the air around him. He was surprised to see Lin Feng. So much time had passed, and he had thought that people like them who had king-type bodies would progress faster. The man was Dugu the winner, who had a godly imprint king body. Dugu the winner looked at Lin Feng calmly. In the Dark Night region, Lin Feng and Dugu the winner were of the same generation. But Lin Feng had become famous earlier than him. Before heading to Godly Clouds, Lin Feng was already famous in the Dark Night region. They said nothing to one another, they knew one another, that's all, they weren't friends. Chapter 2162, Fabricating Golden Mountain's Exam. The strong cultivators of Golden Mountain were standing in front of everyone. One of them said calmly, everybody, follow me to the Temple of Heaven. After that, everybody rose up into the air and started flying. After a short time, they saw an empty space stage. They could see many buildings and halls around. Of course, the people from inside the halls could also see them. Groups of 10 surrounded the Temple of Heaven. Many square-shaped pillars appeared, which could accommodate many people. There are the pillars for each different group, said a strong cultivator who was standing in the center of the Temple of Heaven calmly. The groups of 10 jumped onto their pillars. Now, after the end of the allocated time, there must be 5 of you on the pillars, said the Golden Mountain cultivator. People on the pillars looked nervous. From 10 people, they were going to be only 5 left. Half of them were going to be eliminated. Many people felt great pressure. They knew it was going to be that way before coming, but still, on Lin Feng's pillar, Jin Zhen looked over the group. Some people looked nervous. One of them said, people who know they can't win should get down. However, Jin Zhen smiled coldly, looked at 5 people and said, thank you very much for joining our group, but 5 people have to be eliminated. Since you came to Golden Mountain, you can stay here and you'll have the opportunity to watch. Why us 5? Asked those 5 people. They all pulled long faces. One of them said, when you invited us, you didn't say that. That wasn't what I meant. Yu Qin can't be eliminated. Dugu can't be eliminated either, he's got the godly imprint king body, and everybody knows Lin Feng too. Therefore, only you can leave. That's the best for the group, said Jin Zhen calmly. However, the 5 people looked angry. Yu Qin suddenly opened his eyes. He seemed to have found a solution, as just after that, someone shrieked and their eyes started bleeding. Don't waste time. Yu Qin said coldly. The 5 people were depressed. It was the sad truth. A few days before, the old man had invited them and had looked honest. However, now, in the blink of an eye, they were eliminated. How cruel. Some of them were devastated. They hadn't anticipated this ruthlessness at all. They weren't the only ones. Many people on the other pillars had to go through the same thing. Lin Feng looked at Yu Qin, the first master of Jade Clouds. He looked extremely strong. His eyes were terrifying, he could destroy people's 7 apertures with his skill. Quickly, the 5 rejects jumped off the pillar. Lin Feng thought that if he wasn't famous, he would have been kicked out like the others. After a short time, only 5 people were left on all the pillars. They were all geniuses. In such a short time, half of all the people had been eliminated. Out of nearly 400 people, only around 200 were left. Now, time for the second round, said the Golden Mountain cultivator. He glanced at the crowd and continued, the groups of 5 will now fight against other groups of 5. 5 battles, if one side loses, then the whole group is eliminated. If someone doesn't accept, they can challenge 3 people from whole group and if they win, then they can move on. To avoid losing real heroes because of the groups, they created that rule, thought the crowd when they heard that. Lin Feng's group was extremely powerful. Yu Qin, first master of Jade Clouds, could already win 1 battle. Lin Feng could also win 1 battle. The first ones can challenge first, said the Golden Mountain cultivator. In a split second, someone jumped onto the battle stage. The crowd was startled. It was Prince Wu Qing. He was the first one to jump on the battle stage. People already felt sad for whoever was going to be chosen by Prince Wu Qing. You, said Prince Wu Qing, pointing at a group on a pillar. Those people pulled long faces. They didn't want to get eliminated. Someone did jump onto the battle stage, but how could that person compete with Prince Wu Qing? His 3,000 threads of emotionlessness strength made him emotionless and allowed him to use the 3,000 deadly technique. In the twinkling of an eye, he flattened his opponent and won. After that, the opponents won 1 battle and lost the last one, which meant they were eliminated 2-1 for Prince Wu Qing's group. The group had 1 strong cultivator, but he couldn't compete with all the others. Yu Qin, get a win for us first, that way, we'll have the initiative in the next 2 rounds as well, said Jin Zhen to Yu Qin. Yu Qin nodded. His silhouette flickered and he landed on the battle stage. He opened his eyes and looked at some people. They all pulled long faces. You, said Yu Qin calmly. 1 person from that group jumped onto the battle stage. It was the weakest person of their group, because they had no hope to win against Yu Qin. They hoped they'd win the next 2 battles. The two fighters stood on the battle stage. Yu Qin took a step. It looked like his eyes were coming out of his orbits, they were terrifying. Deadly strength rose in the twinkling of an eye. At the same time, his lips moved and strength emerged from his mouth and pulsed out. His opponent suddenly gave out a horrible shriek, and his 7 apertures started bleeding abundantly. Yu Qin moved his hands and sent the enemy hurtling back to his pillar. It was a crushing defeat. Second battle. Dugu the winner, you go, said Jin Zhen to Dugu the winner. All right. Dugu the winner nodded and jumped onto the battle stage. His opponent also landed in front of him. His chi was terrifying. Bzzz. 3,000 godly imprint lights started floating above the battle stage. It was an incredible display of King Chi. Dugu the winner is really strong. Lang Yi and Jun Mo, she must be really strong too. During those 2 years, I progressed too slowly. I only improved my physical strength, thought Lin Feng. Years had passed since the Pathfinder day of the Imperial ranking list in the Holy City. Back then, Lang Yi was at the same cultivation level as Lin Feng, medium-level emperor, but now so much time had passed. Lin Feng had already reached the top of the Huang Qi layer, the others were probably at the same level. After all, even though they weren't as strong as him when it came to fighting back then, they didn't understand Dao's strength back then, either. People who had king-type bodies became exponentially stronger as they broke through. Their fighting abilities also became more terrifying with time. Dugu the winner's 3,000 godly imprint lights started rising to the skies and fusing together with his Dao strength before crashing onto his opponent. In the end, he won. 2 wins, 1 loss. The 3 other members of the enemy's group turned pale as they were eliminated. With Yu Qin and Dugu the winner in the enemy's group, how could they win? The following battles were spectacular. Groups kept getting eliminated. Finally, someone who was in a group of losers challenged 3 cultivators from a rival group and defeated them. Some people recognized him, it was a terrifying cultivator from Supreme Clouds, which explained it all. A few hours later, only 80-some people were left on pillars. The others had been eliminated and wouldn't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. During this 3rd round, even more people will be eliminated. Each of the 5 members of the groups must fight. They must win 3 times. People who are in groups of winners but lose their battle also are eliminated. Those who win their battle and are in groups of winners can fight against 3 people from any group of winners. If they win the 3 battles, they are qualified, the Golden Mountain Cultivator explained slowly. The weakest ones were all getting eliminated quickly. Only the most heroic of all heroes would remain in the end. This time, I'll choose the opponents randomly, said that person calmly. He pointed at 2 groups of 5 people. Their respective members fought against one another, their battles were incredible. That time, even if a group won, 2 of their members could get eliminated. Cultivators were now ready to use their full strength to win and avoid being eliminated. After several battles, only the strongest alliances were left. Lin Feng was grim. Each time, at least 5 people were eliminated when 2 groups fought. A group couldn't win all the battles, or at least it hadn't happened. Therefore, each time at least 6 people were eliminated. Ru Yun was eliminated. Lin Feng was astonished. Jiuling Huang and the others were in the same group. Yao Yao, Ziling, and Ru Yun had been eliminated already. Only Jiuling Huang, Ru Feng, and a member of Golden Mountain hadn't been eliminated in their group. Your 2 groups. Fight, said the Golden Mountain Cultivator at that moment. He was pointing at Lin Feng and his group on one side, and Prince Wu Qin's group on the other side. They both had first masters. The crowd looked terribly excited. One group had to be eliminated. But Prince Wu Qin and Yu Qin were probably not going to fight. Even if one group was eliminated, they would then choose to challenge 3 people to be qualified. Otherwise, if a master was eliminated before the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, then Prince Wuqing jumped onto the battle stage. Jin Zhen looked at Lin Feng and said, "Lin Feng, you fight this one." Dugu the winner had already shown how strong he was. Jin Zhen and Yu Qing could defeat the other members of Prince Wuqing's group. Bing was also strong. They could all win. So now they were thinking that getting rid of Lin Feng was the best thing they could do. Chapter 2163, Cruel, Prince Wuqing. When Lin Feng heard Jin Zhen, he was surprised. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds hadn't even started and they were making him fight against Prince Wuqing. The rule was that only winners who were in groups of losers could challenge 3 people. If they lost, they were directly eliminated. Therefore, if Lin Feng fought against Prince Wuqing, one of them would be definitely eliminated and wouldn't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Prince Wuqing's face looked strange. Lin Feng and Prince Wuqing came from the Dark Night region, and Prince Wuqing was very self-confident. But he found it strange that he would fight against Lin Feng, especially since he hoped Lin Feng would participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Lin Feng and Prince Wuqing had the same thought. Lin Feng also knew that Prince Wuqing had the 3,000 threads of emotionlessness strength and knew the 3,000 deadly technique had to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, otherwise it'd be a pity. Therefore, Lin Feng looked at Jin Zhen. He had invited him in, the 3 people had said beautiful words. Of course, Jin Zhen needed him at the beginning because he didn't want anything unexpected to happen. He wanted to reach this part of the process. Thanks to Yu Qing, the one who had a king-type body, and Lin Feng, he had made it here. But now, things were different. Lin Feng was in their alliance, they had to get rid of someone, and without the least hesitation, he decided to get rid of Lin Feng. Jin Zhen and Yu Qing had to be sure they'd be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. "You go for the first battle," replied Lin Feng calmly. When Jin Zhen heard Lin Feng, he frowned and looked at him coldly. Yu Qing and he were supposed to be qualified for the meeting. If they had to, they'd even get rid of Dugu the winner. However, Lin Feng was looking at Jin Zhen and telling him to fight against Prince Wuqing himself. People around looked amused. There was a problem in that group. They had won all their battles, it was normal to feel pressure, but now the rules were different. If someone lost in a group, they were eliminated even if the group won. "We give up this round." Lin Feng lost, Jin Zhen said to the Golden Mountain cultivator evenly. The referee looked startled, and Lin Feng said, "I agree to make an alliance with you, but I never agreed to listen to your order." "Master, there is no such rule, is there?" "Indeed, there is no such rule," said the Golden Mountain cultivator, nodding and looking at Lin Feng. "Since there is no such rule, Jin Zhen can't give me orders," said Lin Feng calmly. "But someone must fight in the alliance. You can decide together." "How to decide?" "Jin Zhen and Bing are together. They want me to get eliminated," said Lin Feng calmly. "What do you think then?" asked the Golden Mountain cultivator. "Even if my group gives up, I refuse to admit I lost this battle. If anyone says I did, then they don't need to fight against Prince Wuqing, they can fight against me directly. If I lose, then I'll be the loser. If I win, then they'll be the loser," said Lin Feng indifferently, "otherwise, I also agree to leave the group and fight alone." "That's a joke. You can't leave an alliance." "Who do you think we are?" said Jin Zhen, taking a step towards Lin Feng and pointing his finger at him. The atmosphere became eerily silent. Lin Feng had the impression Jin Zhen wanted to stab him with that finger. "An alliance doesn't depend on your definition either," retorted Lin Feng, also taking a step forwards. The air began to churn with rising energies. Lin Feng pointed back at Yu Qing, Holy Spirit swords condensing on his finger and turning into a sword. The energies emerging from both fingers collided, fissures appeared in the air between them. Yu Qing and the others stepped away, frowning. An internal battle had started. Prince Wuqing was probably really strong. However, Lin Feng didn't fight, not because he didn't dare, but because he didn't think that it was the right time for him to fight against Prince Wuqing. He wasn't the only one to think that way. Wuqing thought the same as Lin Feng. It wasn't Wuqing's time to fight against Prince Wuqing either. They were both first masters in their respective regions. They'd fight, but not at that moment. Therefore, Wuqing didn't step up and fight against Prince Wuqing either. Lin Feng thought the same. Jin Jin just wanted one of them to be eliminated as if the members of his alliance were his pawns. Lin Feng didn't like that at all. He despised such little people. Now that they wanted to sacrifice him, he burst out into anger. "Insolent," shouted Jin Jin explosively. Terrifying lights illuminated the pillar. Lin Feng was directly in front of him. At such a distance, ordinary emperors would have died because of the energies. "Piss off," shouted Lin Feng extremely loudly as well. Sounds resonated in Jin Jin's brain, and death strength moved into his eyes and godly awareness. At the same time, Lin Feng punched out in his direction. It seemed like it could crush anything. The energies enveloped the two fighters explosively. Rumbling and explosion sounds spread in the air. The crowd saw Jin Jin get pushed back. He tried to get back his balance, standing in the air. He looked at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng jumped towards him, his robe fluttering in the wind. He looked at him coldly and said, "Who the fuck do you think you are? You think you can use me and then get rid of me as you wish? You think you can use us to get qualified for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds? Then I only conclude you're not strong enough to rely on strength to get qualified. You're ridiculous." Lin Feng was humiliating Jin Jin. It made him furious. He pulled a long face, especially since he had just been forced back by Lin Feng. What Lin Feng was saying wasn't groundless. He wasn't as strong as Lin Feng, so he wanted to get rid of him. Did he think that he could use other people and didn't need to rely on strength to get qualified for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, just because he was from Golden Mountain? "I'll fight this one." Bing broke in, jumping onto the battle stage. The crowd frowned again. The girl was helping Jin Jin. Lin Feng had just overcome Jin Jin, so Jin Jin couldn't say that Lin Feng was the loser, otherwise, the crowd would make fun of him. In any case, Jin Jin was not satisfied. Bing had decided to sacrifice herself for Jin Jin. Jin Jin was really strong, and Bing had faith in him. She didn't know why he had been pushed back by Lin Feng, but in her opinion, Jin Jin had just been too careless. Actually, if anyone fought in close combat against Lin Feng, the same thing would have happened. Jin Jin was extremely strong, Lin Feng was aware of it, but he also knew how strong he himself was. "You will still be out," said Jin Jin, glancing at Lin Feng coldly. He landed back on the pillar and stopped looking at Lin Feng, watching the battle stage instead. His eyes were still filled with ice-cold lights though. Bing couldn't win against Prince Wuqing, and rapidly lost. Nobody was surprised. She lost and managed to make people forget about Jin Jin's humiliation. For the second battle, Jin Jin jumped forwards. He still looked furious. His opponent was extremely strong, but Jin Jin overwhelmed his opponent and won quickly. For the third battle, Wuqing fought and won. For the fourth battle, Dugu the winner fought, his 3600 godly imprints condensed and he crushed his enemy. He won, too. They had won 3 times. Their group had won. However, according to the rules, Lin Feng had to fight, so he fought and won. People were amazed by their group. If Prince Wuqing hadn't been in their enemy's group, they could have won 5 battles. Wuqing, Jin Jin, Lin Feng and Dugu the winner had all won. They were all extremely strong. In the enemy's group, only Prince Wuqing won. If people continue getting eliminated, who will get eliminated in that one? There are tensions between Lin Feng and Jin Jin already, thought the crowd. Those who had won and were in winners' groups could stay on the pillars. Almost 400 strong cultivators, and now only 40 are left, thought those watching. Some people frowned, others sighed. People who were going to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds were all terrifyingly strong. However, the real battles would start during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Besides, Golden Mountain still seemed to think that 40 people was too much, so it wasn't over yet. They still wanted to eliminate people, but the groups weren't equal anymore. Some groups had 3 people, some groups had 4 people, and some rare groups still had 5 people. Some rare groups also had only 1 person left, people who were in groups who had lost, and had then challenged 3 people consecutively and won. Chapter 2164, End of the exam. The Golden Mountain cultivator was standing in the air watching impassively. He glanced at the crowd and said, Golden Mountain can select 30 people. Therefore, there are a dozen people who have to be eliminated. We have 10 groups, each group can choose 1 person to eliminate. If there is a disagreement, you can fight to solve the issue. People who get eliminated can challenge 3 winners. If they win, they stay, and the defeated ones are eliminated, said the Golden Mountain cultivator calmly. The fighters were nervous, as it was the last round. They needed to eliminate 10 people, perfect, there were 10 groups left. Round by round, said the strong cultivator glancing at the groups. He said, You 3, who do you want to eliminate? The 3 cultivators pulled long faces. They were extremely strong to have made it there. Now if someone wanted to fight against 3 people and win, it would be really difficult, because only the strongest cultivators were left. However, nobody could change the rules. In that group, 2 people looked at the third at the same time. That person pulled a long face. Everybody had fought so far, so people were aware of everyone's strength. Maybe some people had hidden their real strength, but such people were rare. The person the other 2 cultivators looked at was indeed the weakest man in their group. He said nothing and resigned himself. He still tried to challenge 3 people, but he lost quickly. He was eliminated, he wouldn't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Heroes are now getting eliminated, thought Lin Feng, watching those people. The 2 people left were extremely strong. At the beginning, there were nearly 400 people, and now only 30 would be qualified. It was quite cruel. People were eliminated one after the other. The atmosphere was eerily silent. Finally, it was the turn of Lin Feng's group. Many people watched them carefully: Yuqing, the first master of Jade Clouds, Jin Zhen from Golden Mountain, Dugu the winner who had a king-type body, and Lin Feng. Those 4 people were extremely strong. None of them would accept getting eliminated. Jin Zhen looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at Jin Zhen. Will you challenge 3 people straight away, or do we need to fight first? Said Lin Feng calmly. Jin Zhen looked at him in a very icy way. He hadn't had time to say anything. Lin Feng had already talked, as if Jin Zhen was the one who deserved to be eliminated the most. Yuqing obviously couldn't get eliminated. There was a conflict between Lin Feng and Jin Zhen. Dugu the winner acted as if it all had nothing to do with him. Therefore, Lin Feng and Jin Zhen wanted to eliminate one another. Actually, Dugu the winner was lucky that there were tensions between Lin Feng and Jin Zhen. That's exactly what I wanted to say, replied Jin Zhen calmly. Think carefully. We can fight, I don't mind. But if you get injured, then challenging 3 people won't be easy for you, and that way, you won't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, said Lin Feng. Jin Zhen looked at him coldly and said, Come. After that, he jumped out and landed on the battle stage, staring at Lin Feng. His eyes were filled with murder. Dao power filled the air, and his cosmic energies rose to the skies. Lin Feng looked at Jin Zhen and slowly walked forwards. Jin Zhen stretched out his arm and golden cosmic energies turned into a gigantic golden hammer. Hammer refining technique, the crowd murmured. The members of Golden Mountain practiced weapon cultivation, so their weapons were powerful. Lin Feng also jumped onto the stage, a loud sound ringing out. A terrifying black sword appeared above Lin Feng's head. It looked extremely sharp and vibrating ominously. Weapon King intent, the crowd frowned. Was that Lin Feng's spirit? Why did he have that kind of intent? The cosmic energies of that sword was composed were terrifying. They were even more powerful than Jin Zhen's cosmic energies. Jin Zhen frowned, and his hammer moved. Deployment lights twinkled all over it. Jin Zhen rose up into the air, raising his hammer. Clouds appeared and a strong wind started blowing, the air turning dark. A terrifying strength rose up, trying to crush the sky. How strong, that strength is really oppressive, murmured the crowd, staring at the golden lights. The lights were getting more and more intense. Their Dao power looked incredible. Lin Feng just looked at Jin Zhen coldly. His sword was now humming at an ear-splitting level. The strength of the earth, the sky, and the 10,000 things of creation condensed and fused together with the sword. At the same time, terrifying deployment marks started intertwining around it. Lin Feng started condensing the required strength for the celestial stage deployment spell, and the sword slowly fused together with it. His energies became more and more oppressive as well. It felt like nothing could block that sword. The terrifying energies were screaming at one another. Jin Zhen's hammer streaked across the sky. People's hearts were pounding at its chi. The hammer grew even more gigantic, and many hammer shadows appeared around it, converging on Lin Feng. Go! Lin Feng also released his gigantic sword with the celestial stage deployment spell. It turned into a beam of light and shot towards the hammer. Around the gigantic sword, a dark demon vortex appeared and absorbed everything in its path. The hammer's shadows were all destroyed, and the hammer and the gigantic sword collided in a horrendous impact. Energies thundered and were rent asunder. Jin Zhen was hurled backwards once again, his hammer was broken, but the sword continued moving towards him. Break! Jin Zhen furiously punched out and made the air shake violently, trying to collapse space around it. His strength struck the gigantic sword again, and it finally broke apart. At the same time, a hurricane came howling for him. Jin Zhen saw a dark fist moving towards him, space rippling around it. Jin Zhen raised his fist to block, and the sound of his bones breaking was clearly audible. He was smashed away again. He shouted furiously and dazzling lights penetrated into Lin Feng's brain. Die! Death Dao surged out and carried everything away. At the same time, a death sword appeared. Lin Feng raised both fists and punched out with thunderous force. The crowd saw Jin Zhen get smashed away, covered with blood and coughing up scarlet. He fell from the sky and crashed to the ground. People's hearts were pounding. How strong! That gigantic sword, and his physical strength, the crowd was staring at Lin Feng in astonishment. No wonder he dared act that arrogantly. He would probably rank quite well in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Lin Feng watched Jin Zhen get up and said coldly, "You're not qualified to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds." He turned around and went back onto the pillar. Dugu the winner, Lin Feng, and Yu Qing were left. Jin Zhen's face paled. He was still coughing up blood. The strong cultivator from Golden Mountain said to him, "You can either choose to challenge 3 people, or give up." When Jin Zhen heard that, his face twisted. How could he challenge 3 people? Those people were all heroes. "I give up," said Jin Zhen, staring at Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng didn't even bother to look at him. Jin Zhen was a nobody to him. Lin Feng wanted to focus on the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. After their fight, more people were eliminated. "Congratulations everybody," said the strong cultivator, smiling at the crowd, "you are now 30. You will participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. The others may still watch, however. When they heard that, they all smiled indifferently. Those who had been eliminated didn't look happy at all, though. They were desperate, sad, disappointed, they would only be able to watch. Alright, you can disperse. One more month. Get ready for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, said the referee calmly. Necklaces flew towards all those who had been qualified. They grabbed them and placed their godly awareness inside. Silhouettes flickered as the people left. One more month was left. Chapter 2165, Different Thoughts and Opinions. Lin Feng headed back to his rooms. Some people were traveling with him now. Yao Yao smiled at him and said, "Brother Lin Feng, I'll help you make some pellets. They'll help you recover in case of physical or soul injuries. If you get injured during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, they'll be useful. Of course, it would be best if nothing happened to you, of course." Even though many people were going to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, nobody knew what the Fortune Shrine thought. For many people, the shrines were mysterious. Only powerful groups of godly Cloud City had the opportunity to meet people from the shrines. Lin Feng was curious about the shrines, but he didn't do any research about them. He was convinced that he was going to learn more about them during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds would allow him to learn about the very heart of the cultivation world. I'll take the soul pellet, but I don't need other pellets. I can control life cosmic energies, said Lin Feng, smiling back at her. Yao Yao's eyes twinkled and she said, "Brother Lin Feng, you know so many types of cosmic energies." "Indeed, many," he agreed. Hi, even though I can't participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, I will be happy to watch you, as well as Brother Ling. Don't fight against one another, said Yao Yao, looking over at Jiu Ling Huang. Lin Feng and Jiu Ling Huang glanced at one another, but said nothing. They were both unwilling to fight one another, but if they had to, neither of them would flinch, of course. Both knew they might have to fight against one another during the meeting. There's one more month. Brother Lin Feng, what are you going to do? Asked Yao Yao to Lin Feng. Practice and relax. I need to make my foundation even more stable, replied Lin Feng. He couldn't do much in a month. He would stay in Golden Mountain and practice cultivation. He wanted to make his strength more stable, and become stronger. He didn't feel any pressure, as he knew he could end up in the top 100, but nobody could anticipate what was going to happen during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Alright. Good, I'll practice cultivation too. I'll try to catch up with you too. Yao Yao grinned. Lin Feng went back to his residence and isolated himself from the outside world to practice cultivation. The exams at Holy Cultivation Tower, Demon Sect and Ghosts and Spirits Temple were over, too. They had all selected 30 people. Like Golden Mountain, those who had been selected were also heroes. In Holy Cultivation Tower. Outside of a tower, 2 strong cultivators gazed into the distance coldly. Wang Shi, during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, if I have to fight against you or Lin Feng, I'll be merciless. Declared Lei Dong Tian, dark kulpa lights twinkling around him. Wang Shi looked at Lei Dong Tian and grunted coldly. Someone rose up into the air and stopped next to him. It was Wang Jie. The Pellet King's clan had found a way to send Wang Jie to Holy Cultivation Tower. Wang Jie and Wang Shi were both going to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Not far from them, outside of another tower, someone gazed into the distance as well and whispered, "Feng, I have the feeling you're in Godly Cloud City. You'll probably participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds." In Ghosts and Spirits Temple, a dark mist surrounded a silhouette. That person's eyes were pitch black. He looked terrifyingly bestial. "Little boys, get ready for the carnage," said Tian Hun evilly and coldly. "Lin Feng, I've heard that you are in the eastern town too. Even if your physical strength is great, I'll still crush you." In another town of godly Cloud City, bestial Qi dashed to the skies from a mountaintop. The people there all looked sanguinary and bloodthirsty. They looked like born killers. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was going to start. In the northern town, a young man on a flatland stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He was wearing a cyan robe, and releasing King Qi which filled the air. He looked like an arrogant king, his eyes sharp, the vision of a peerless cultivator. There was a person at the top of Holy Mountain. He looked happy, relaxed, and light-hearted, a well-educated scholar above worldly strife. He didn't release any Qi. Behind him, someone slowly arrived. Lin Feng knew that person. Xian Ren from Holy Mountain. "Brother, this time, you have to rank first at the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds," whispered Xian Ren to the young man. He didn't reply, his composure unchanged. Not far away, a bald Buddhist monk who was holding beads walked slowly and gazed into the distance. He put his palms together and slowly closed his eyes. Then, he sat down cross-legged. He also looked pure and above worldly strife. "That silly monk is pretending again," said Xian Ren. However, the Buddhist monk was already meditating, the outside world had nothing to do with him anymore. Somewhere else, a bald man was bathing in sunlight. He wasn't a Buddhist monk, however. He was courting a beautiful woman. He smiled and said, "There are many strong cultivators in the continent of the 9 clouds. We should be a couple and have children. Maybe if we're lucky, the gods will grant us some gifts." Someone heard those shameless words. There was no lack of strange things in the continent of the 9 clouds. There were many geniuses. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was about to start and someone surprisingly dared harass a beautiful woman. It was quite strange. Somewhere else, Ho Qin Lin was composed as he gazed into the distance. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was about to start, and he was going to participate. However, it was the first time in his life he had doubts. There were so many extremely strong cultivators. Jian Mang and Ho Qin Lin were different. Jian Mang couldn't see anything. At that moment, he was sitting on a stone pillar and waiting calmly. In the eastern town, Prince Wu Qin was seated in a golden palace, his emotionless intent filled the air. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was finally going to start. It was approaching quickly. Among all the geniuses who had been selected for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, all had different thoughts. They knew that soon they'd be fighting against people from other places. All those people were powerful and influential. Who would stand at the top? Very far away, in the Dark Night region, in the Holy City, in Champion University. Years had passed. The atmosphere remained unchanged. They continued recruiting students. Tiantai had become the most powerful group in Champion University. Yun Qin Yen was always very busy recruiting people. Each time they recruited new people, they brought them to the Champion Palace, and the name at the very top of the Celestial Champion ranking list was Lin Feng. Each time, the newcomers' hearts were filled with admiration and intent. For ancient holy clans had bullied him back in the days, and in return Lin Feng had destroyed Ji Chang with his sword attack. In the Celestial Mountains, 2 old men were playing chess. Ancestor Shi Tian put a piece down and smiled. These years, Lin Feng caused great trouble in Qi Tian Holy Town, then he disappeared. Now, the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds is going to start soon. I would guess Lin Feng is there. Ancestor Xian Tian moved his piece and said calmly, even though Lin Feng is strong, the continent of the 9 clouds is gigantic. There will be many geniuses there. Only a few years have passed, he can't be that strong either. If he manages to get selected to participate in the meeting, then he can be proud of himself already. His name will continue dazzling in the Champion Palace. Old buddy, you underestimate Lin Feng, said Ancestor Shi Tian, smiling indifferently. Maybe. Ancestor Xian Tian grunted. Someone arrived, and the two old men turned around and asked, "What's going on?" "That person wants to take the champion exam," said the new arrival, sharp lights twinkling in his eyes. The two old men smiled. All right. Things change with time. Champion University embraces change, too. After that, he continued playing. Ancestor Xian Tian looked funny suddenly. He started fuming with anger and his eyes were glaring as he shouted furiously, "How shameless!" But Ancestor Shi Tian laughed and left, ignoring him. Those days, stars were particularly dazzling in the continent of the Nine Clouds, just like the candidates of the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Chapter 2166, In the Shadow at the Snow Clan. There was lots of snow around, as normal. Some old men were together walking on the ice. "How strong is Zhetian now?" whispered one of the old men at that moment. "He's now a Zun cultivator. He'll definitely break through to the Huang Qi layer within 2 years, replied the other one. Good. Have you noticed anything strange? Asked the old man. Nothing. He now understands several sorts of strength. He'll be able to turn them into cosmic energies in the future. Before his 18th birthday, he'll definitely be a great emperor. Alright, before Zhetian breaks through to the D Qi layer, don't let him go out. Don't spoil him either. He must retain the heart of a newborn baby. I understand. What about Ling Long? She still refuses to come out. Yes, she's been meditating in seclusion. Sometimes, she helps Zhetian train. But there's always someone following her. Nothing will happen to her. Besides, she's trying to become a great emperor now. Good. Don't put too much pressure on her. Is Shuaiao back? I don't know where he is. The old man smiled wryly and shook his head. No problem. If I remember well, the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds is going to start soon. Send some people to watch, said the other old man with a nod. Somewhere else, far above the clouds, floated a celestial castle. A young man was seated cross-legged within, his eyes closed. Behind him were 81 ancient doors. They contained a terrifying sealing qi. Not far from him was a middle-aged man. He looked like a god. He had his hands clasped behind his back. He looked calm and unruffled as he watched the young man who was practicing cultivation. At that moment, the young man opened his eyes, and suddenly the 81 ancient doors turned into 9 doors before merging into his blood. He smiled and looked to the middle-aged man. Teacher. I've told you many times not to call me teacher. I don't have disciples, said the middle-aged man calmly. The young man scratched his head, looking embarrassed, but he smiled and said, In my heart, you're my teacher. Without you, I wouldn't be who I am today. As you wish. The Fortune Shrine is going to organize the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. If you have time, you can go and watch, said the older man, before turning into a beam of light and disappearing. The young man watched the silhouette disappear and smiled wryly. Even though that man had taught him a lot, he still had some enigmatic and unfathomable powers. However, the young man didn't even know who he was, he only knew that he was extremely strong, stronger than he could imagine. He didn't even know if the body he saw was that man's real body. Meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds, repeated the young man with a smile. Then, his silhouette flickered and he left. In Godly Cloud City, in the eastern town, in Golden Mountain. All the strong cultivators gathered together, 30 of them. They were going to participate in the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. There were many people behind them, all people who had been accepted into the city. In front of them, an aged yet strong cultivator stood there, his eyes closed. He released no qi at all. However, the crowd knew that he was incredibly strong. He was going to bring these people to the inner part of the city for the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Is everybody here? Asked the old man indifferently, his eyes still closed. Someone next to him replied instantly, we can leave any time. Everybody is here. All right, replied the old man with a nod. He opened his eyes. The people had the sensation those eyes could make them faint. He glanced over at the crowd. They all had one thought, this old man was terrifying. Since everybody is here, let's go, said the old man calmly. He waved and suddenly, power surrounded the crowd. Its strength was dazzling. Everybody was lifted up into the air, before turning into a beam of light and disappearing. They weren't teleporting, but the crowd understood that at this kind of speed, the difference between moving and teleportation wasn't big. It was a terrifying speed. After a few seconds, the crowd suddenly stopped. They glanced around and realized there was nothing around them, they were stuck in some other space. In front of them was a door 100 zhang high. It looked both dignified and majestic. There were some grand carvings on it, extremely lifelike. The dragon god of the east, the vermilion bird of the south, they looked alive. The door was truly impressive. That's the door to the inner part of Godly Cloud City. What is on the other side? Lin Feng studied the door. It seemed to separate two worlds. Why were the 12 towns of Godly Cloud City outside? What kind of place was the inner part of Godly Cloud City? Why weren't the two parts connected? A strong wind started blowing. The crowd turned around and saw a group of people wearing black clothes. Those people had been brought by Demon Sect. Very quickly, the two other groups also arrived, Holy Cultivation Tower and Ghosts and Spirits Temple. Lin Feng saw some people he knew. They had been brought by other groups. So everybody is here, asked a Holy Cultivation Tower cultivator calmly. The leaders of the groups nodded, and someone said, summon the Wheel of Fortune. The 4 lead cultivators nodded, stepping forwards, and dazzling lights suddenly illuminated the door. Instantly, the door began to shine, and blinding lights rose to the skies. People raised their heads, their hearts pounding. They could see something, 12 lights. Those lights seemed indestructible and eternal. The inner part of Godly Cloud City is open. They thought. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, finally. There was a door in front of every group of people from the 12 towns. The 12 doors had now opened themselves. The crowd looked at them, but only saw boundless emptiness within. The 4 strong cultivators turned around and looked at the crowd. Cross the door. You must all respect the strict rules. If you violate the rules, you'll get killed, you understand? Yes, everybody nodded. The 4 strong cultivators looked particularly grave and solemn. They glanced at one another and nodded. Follow us, they said at the same time as they turned around and crossed the door. Phew, many people took a deep breath. They all wanted to see the inner part of Godly Cloud City, and what glories were there. However, when they crossed the door and saw what was behind, they were stunned. Was this the inner part of Godly Cloud City? All they could see was a boundless emptiness with millions of platforms, going on endlessly. Go, let's go. The 4 strong cultivators led the way, and the crowd followed. After a short time, they arrived before a flight of stairs which led to the platforms. Nobody said anything, they just followed calmly. After a short time, stars appeared in the sky. The platforms started glittering and showing some brilliant lights. A terrifying hurricane wind swept past them with a howl as multiple energy waves rose and fell. The platforms started rotating and rising up. What's going on? Murmured Lin Feng and some others. Where were they going? Nobody knew. The strong cultivators of the 12 towns rose up into the air along with the gigantic platforms. The platforms turned into real worlds. It felt like they could see the remotest corners of the world around them. Everybody seemed caught in a dream, and could only watch. People on the platforms had the impression they had shrunk down, because they could see the groups from the 12 other towns. They understood that only 1,000 people could participate in the battles. The platforms continued rising. Nobody knew where they were going, and so they didn't move. Chapter 2167, Losing all advantages. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the sky. A warm light was illuminating the platforms and surrounding the crowd. Gradually, many gigantic stone pillars appeared before them, looking like illusions. Finally, the people on the platforms could see everyone. Above them, a vast layer of qi was floating. Some ancient buildings appeared. Many people looked at them, as if they were waiting for them. What's that? The fighters were curious. Where were they? Was this the inner part of Godly Cloud City? Welcome to Fortune City, said someone. People's hearts started pounding. Lin Feng was astonished. Fortune City. He knew Fortune City. In the small world, back then, he was extremely weak, but he had been to Fortune City. It was in the central part of Ba Huang. However, at that moment, was he in Fortune City again? He saw an old man descended from the sky slowly. When Lin Feng saw him, he frowned, his eyes suddenly filled with sharp lights. He was staring at the old man, who he was fated to meet again. The diviner. His cultivation level is still enigmatic and unfathomable. But he looks more real to me now, thought Lin Feng. His heart was drumming in his chest. The diviner was here. In the central part of the continent of the 9 clouds, he could once again see the diviner. What was the Fortune City he had seen in the small world? And was it the real diviner there? Maybe that Fortune City and the diviner didn't exist for real. Maybe they were just shadows. The diviner looked at the crowd, smiled gently, and spoke. This time, Fortune City is in charge of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. First, let's talk about the meeting. All the geniuses of the continent of the 9 clouds have gathered to come to Godly Cloud City. The meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds takes places every 100 years, but the powerful groups of Godly Cloud City hold their tongues. They don't reveal the secrets of the event. Some of you are here to participate, some of you are here to watch. When you leave, don't tell anyone about what happened here. People outside can see what's going on here, but they don't know where we are. I understand, everybody agreed. They understood that the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds was the biggest battle stage of the continent of the 9 clouds. For the participants, it might be the beginning of a new life. As usual, during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, many people will die. Even if you are geniuses, you may die here. Therefore, if you want to leave now, you can. Nobody forces you to stay. This is the last time I ask, does anyone want to leave? The diviner asked solemnly. Nobody replied. They had done so much to get here. How could they flee? Even if it was dangerous, they had to fight. When the diviner saw that nobody replied, he smiled warmly. In the end, 100 people will be selected. Those people will be allowed to come and go from the inner part of Godly Cloud City as they wish. Of course, in the future, they will know where the inner part of Godly Cloud City really is, and what it is. People were startled again. They understood that the inner part of Godly Cloud City wasn't something simple. Maybe the inner part of Godly Cloud City was the real center of the continent of the 9 clouds, and was the place where the shrines were. Lin Feng and many other people thought about that. They saw no trace of the shrines around them. However, in the continent of the 9 clouds, there were many legends about the shrines. Maybe in the inner part of Godly Cloud City, they would finally discover the truth. Only 100 people would be selected and would have the opportunity to go to the center of the world. Every 100 years, 100 people, an average of a mere 1 person a year. The first 50 people will have the opportunity to become part of Fortune City, in other words, a shrine's disciple. Of course, since we're in charge of the event this year, you'll have the opportunity to become a disciple of the Fortune Shrine. The first 10 cultivators will have the opportunity to become core disciples, continued the diviner. That made everybody's heart twitch. If they ended up in the top 10, they'd become direct disciples in a shrine. Usually, when they heard about a shrine's disciples, they heard of ordinary disciples. Ordinary disciples had to display great abilities to become core disciples. Of course, the top 3 cultivators will receive even more. You'll receive the gifts after the end of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, the diviner smiled. Besides, I'd like to remind you that the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds doesn't only consist of battles. We will first test your abilities, intent, understanding of cultivation, and so on. Therefore, cultivators from wealthy and powerful clans won't have the advantage. The exam is extremely fair. Are you all ready? The diviner asked calmly. People's eyes twinkled. They weren't just going to battle. People who had received a lot from their clans looked frustrated. The rules were against them. Lights descended from the sky, and the people saw a rotating fortress in front of them. A fake world appeared. The fortune wheel is activated. People who will participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, get onto the flight of stairs and sit on the pillars, ordered the diviner patiently. The participants raised their heads and looked at the pillars before climbing up and stepping atop them. Now, the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds is going to start. Go into the fortress. Once inside, fate seeds will turn into life, and you'll all be the same, your physical strength, your soul strength, your cultivation level, you will all have the exact same level. Everything will depend on your fate. To exist inside, you'll need to obtain new powers, I will not help you. You will only be able to rely on yourselves. All you will be able to take will depend on your most basic body, your awakened spirit, your temper, and your intent. Are you ready now? The diviner went on. Everyone looked solemn and respectful. They sat down on the pillars, wondering what was awaiting them. Nobody could be sure. Lin Fang's eyes twinkled before slowly closing them. Some people were going to be famous, some others were going to fall. Some people had incredible spells, others had incredible great imperial weapons, but in the fortress, nothing mattered. They had no advantage in there. They were all the same. That was extremely fair. Everybody agreed with it. Fortune lights appeared and surrounded the pillars. Lin Feng had the sensation his life was being taken away. He trembled and realized he had landed on the ground. He glanced around, and found he was in another world. I can't control my body anymore. What a strange strength. He thought, somewhat surprised. He stretched out his hands, it wasn't his body was probably still on the pillar. What he controlled there was his life. My strength, Lin Feng flexed his hands and realized that he was extremely weak. Everybody was the same. They had gone back to the source of cultivation. As the diviner had said, what they could take depended on their awakened spirit, temper, talent, and intent. They had nothing else. Tian Qi layer, murmured Lin Feng. He realized he had the strength of the Tian Qi layer. He was extremely weak. Why the Tian Qi layer, though? Lin Feng guessed that in the Great World, they considered the Tian Qi layer the starting point of the Huang Qi layer. It was when cultivators understood human and earth fusion, they could fly, they started understanding the strength of the earth and sky, their pure qi became real, and their spirit started taking real shapes. From the top of the Huang Qi layer down to the Tian Qi layer, I'm not used to it, thought Lin Feng with a smile. However, he was convinced that real geniuses could start all over from the beginning and rise. That's what the diviner wanted to see, how they would rise again. Chapter 2168, Start from the Beginning. Back around the platforms, the diviner was standing in the air. The diviner, as well as everyone else, could clearly see what was going on there. The emperors had arrived first, and were soon followed by cultivators of the Di Qi layer. Is that the destiny technique? Whispered an old man, looking at the scenery. He knew that everything here was fake, an illusion. However, for the people in there, it all looked real. They're fighting at the lowest level, their cultivation level is oppressed. They also don't have any spells or strength. They have nothing anymore. They have to rise again, they're starting from scratch. That's the most rudimentary and yet the most complex part of the meeting. Many people will get eliminated, the watchers were discussing. The crowd from Godly Cloud City could also see the diviner's fake world. It was just like everything was happening before them. In the illusionary world, many fighters bumped into beasts, many others were annoyed to have lost their special powers. Some people were torn apart by powerful beasts. Ah, a horrible shriek spread in the air, the crowd shivered. They looked at the top of a pillar, where someone slowly collapsed and their chi disappeared. Dead? When the crowd saw that, they frowned in shock. Wasn't it an illusion? Why was that person dead? Their real bodies hadn't even gone into the illusion. Powerful illusions are connected to the real world. The diviner is so powerful that he can create such things, others admonished them, looking at that person. Their hearts sped up. A genius had fallen already. Many people imagined what would have happened to them if they had been there. I warned all the participants that they could fall here. If they thought that it didn't matter, that they would, at most, be eliminated, they weren't determined enough. People have to understand that they can die, said the diviner calmly. The crowd's hearts skipped a beat. People who participated in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds were geniuses, and determined. Only one person had fallen so far, inside the illusionary world. Lin Feng was in a forest, where he realized that the biggest problem wasn't that his cultivation level was restrained, it wasn't that his physical strength was restrained either, the biggest problem was that his memories were blurry. His spells, skills, and techniques were all blurred. If he wanted to obtain strength again, he had to start from scratch. It was as if his brain had turned into a completely blank page. Of course, a blank page was perfect to draw upon. A strong wind started blowing, and some bestial chi filled the air. Before, such a bestial chi would have seemed extremely weak in front of Lin Feng. However, at that moment, he had the impression it was powerful. A great rock appeared and looked at him coldly. It looked thirsty for blood. Oh no, a Tian-level beast, and I have no spell, skill or technique. Thought Lin Feng, looking at the beast coldly. He started running, not wanting to fight at all. A moment before, he was asking himself questions about cultivation and how to pass the exam. Now he was just thinking about how to survive. The great rock flew at him, shrieking. Lin Feng sensed the oppressive energies. His eyes turned dark, and everything became distinct around him. That was the power of his spirit. He could only use the most original strength which his spirit granted him. He condensed pure chi in his arms and continued flying away. However, the great rock was faster and caught up with him, opening its talons. Brother Lin Feng. In the outside world, Yao Yao was shaking. How dangerous. Was the great rock going to rip Lin Feng to pieces? Lin Feng suddenly stopped, turning and moving sideways, and the talons passed him by. Lin Feng grabbed the great rock's leg, and punched its abdomen using pure chi. The bird cawed furiously as a hole appeared in its guts. But then it pushed Lin Feng from above and Lin Feng was driven down to the ground. However, he quickly crawled back up, turning his head and looking at the injured great rock. The great rock opened his wings, rose up and flew away. Blood dripped as it flew away. Lin Feng took a deep breath. How dangerous. He hadn't thought the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds would be so complicated. Of course, Lin Feng was still convinced he could pass. Even though he had no spells, techniques or skills, he had experience. Rising back would be no problem. Lin Feng continued walking, even more determined now. Even though Tian-level cultivators could fly, Lin Feng didn't dare at this time, as there were too many dangerous beasts in the forest. If he drew the beast's attention, even 10 lives wouldn't be enough. Tian-level cultivators can condense pure qi. Apart from pure qi, they can also use intent to fight. Even if I understand only one type of intent, it should be easy, thought Lin Feng as he continued walking. Quickly, he bumped into another powerful beast, a demon fox. It looked into his eyes. Lin Feng had the impression he had fallen into an illusion. At that moment, the fox stared at Lin Feng. Lin Feng suddenly saw a celestial woman. It was Meng Qing. He surprisingly could see Meng Qing there. Lin Feng bit his lips to draw blood. Meng Qing, the Snow Clan, his eyes became ice cold. As the fox was attacking him, he took a step backwards, raised his fist and then punched out in the direction of the fox's head. Lin Feng's clothes were torn apart. A burning wound appeared on his hip. He had almost been killed. The fox collapsed. Lin Feng tore the fox's thorax violently. He lifted it and absorbed the strength it contained. He continued on, still determined. He had to understand the mechanisms of the diviner's world. Therefore, even in the event of danger, he had to find solutions. Problems would arise if he didn't become strong quickly enough in comparison to other people. Lin Feng continued walking in the forest aimlessly. He didn't need a target destination, he needed strength. He encountered many dangers, and his clothes were soon completely shredded, but he still continued on relentlessly. Lin Feng saw a monumental earthworm in the forest. It could spit fire, but it was extremely slow. Lin Feng moved like the wind, swift and agile, like a petal. That was the intent he had studied these days. He landed before the earthworm and pure fire qi attacked the earthworm's body. However, the attack didn't kill it. What an incredible defense! At the same time, he jumped away, and a wind made of sword strength shot towards the earthworm's back. The earthworm roared in fury. Lin Feng attacked it a few times before the sword pure qi crashed into the earthworm's only eye. After a short time, Lin Feng managed to kill the earthworm. He headed into a cave and sat down cross-legged. He said to himself, I can condense pure qi, I should create a skill or a technique. That would help me break through. When Lin Feng was a Tian-level cultivator, he used to use the Cosmos Burning Sun technique, and Tian-level scriptures. Even though he could create a similar technique quickly because he had experience, he wanted to make an even more powerful technique. He wanted to absorb the strength of the earth and sky, condense pure qi and break through. That way, he'd be able to face the other cultivators. The geniuses were probably doing the same as him. Sooner or later, battles were going to start, and their lives would be in peril. Chapter 2169, Breaking Out. The diviner had sent them to an unknown world and taken everything from them. They could only rely on their talent and intent to become stronger. Lin Feng didn't know whether that world followed the same rules as the outside world or not. Maybe it only looked similar. Even though Lin Feng's cultivation level was very low in this world, his experience remained unchanged. It took Lin Feng half a month to create a new skill. A powerful absorbing strength appeared in the cave as he absorbed 5 kinds of strength, condensed pure qi, and used his pure qi to refine his veins. His pure qi grew more powerful. Lin Feng was inhaling and exhaling qi. It was the skill he had thought of. To become stronger, absorbing 5 sorts of strength to condense pure qi was an excellent method. More days passed and Lin Feng opened his eyes. Lights glittered in his eyes. He had practiced with single-hearted devotion and without distracting thoughts, becoming one with the earth. He could absorb 5 sorts of strength and use them for himself. His new skill also contained some attacks. He could now easily defeat the beasts in this world. I'll go out and see if I can become an extremely strong cultivator here, thought Lin Feng. Now that he had a set of spells, skills and techniques, he wanted to know how to pass that test. Apart from leveling up, was there anything else he needed to do? After leaving the cave, Lin Feng moved quickly, intending to leave that forest. After a short time, he bumped into a terrifying beast, a Maharaga which spat out poison at him. Lin Feng used wind intent and merged with the wind, looking like a great rock. He shook his arms and a real great rock silhouette appeared, brandishing its golden claws, able to conquer every obstacle. It moved towards the Maharaga and ripped into it. Blood started gushing. The gigantic Maharaga roared defiantly. Lin Feng's punch turned into a beam of light, his pure chi turned into an earth attack, as heavy as a hammer. He crushed the Maharaga into pieces. After Lin Feng killed it, he took its heart and absorbed its pure chi. He wasn't worried, he knew that despite his cultivation level he could cope with the power of the pure chi. The forest was extremely vast. Lin Feng was walking and didn't forget to practice cultivation at the same time. He was becoming stronger at a terrifying speed. Lin Feng understood something then. It was no surprise that extremely strong cultivators could progress quickly. Lin Feng's cultivation was restrained in this world, but relying on his unique cultivation experience and understanding abilities, it felt like was no limit due to his cultivation level. As a Tian-level cultivator, he had no limit. It was extremely easy for strong cultivators to break through until they started trying to break through to the Di-Chi layer. People in the outside world could see everything distinctly. Everybody who was stuck in that world started making skills and techniques, and also killed beasts. Some people progressed quickly, some people progressed slowly. The crowd also realized that some beasts protected caves in which there were spells, weapons, skills, and techniques, treasures there to help the fighters. There were dozens of people in each forest. Of course, there were exits, each guarded by a powerful beast. To leave, they had go through those exits. However, nobody had succeeded yet. After finding an exit, many people had been encircled by groups of powerful beasts and had been killed. Some days passed and finally, someone managed to break free from the beast's encirclement and leave. It was a group of people with some terrifying cultivators. After that, someone managed to leave on their own. It was Hua Qin Feng, the first master of godly clouds. He was wearing white clothes, looked like a scholar, had a celestial book spirit, and he strictly enforced the principles he learned in the Holy Scriptures. One word and he could release an infinity of swords. The beasts couldn't stop him. Lin Feng also started bumping into other cultivators. He learned about the exits. At that moment, he also joined a group of people. It's the valley in front of us, we can't fly there. We must walk. If we want to leave, we have to go through it. Many powerful beasts are there. Some beasts have the strength of the top of the Tian Qi layer. Even though we could destroy them when he had the strength of the Huang Qi layer, now they can easily kill us. Some people died in there already. That's why we started gathering together, someone explained. The man's name was Lu Lanyu. He looked skinny, but sharp lights glittered in his eyes. He looked like a supernatural being. He had started gathering people and had also invited Lin Feng to join them. How powerful are the creatures in the valley? Asked someone. I'm not sure, but I am convinced that to pass the exam of the shrine, we have to leave the valley quickly. Even if it's dangerous, we have to go and check. Since we're already a big group, other people have probably thought of doing the same as us. We can't be too weak, otherwise, the other groups will eliminate us, replied Lu Lanyu calmly. I agree with Lu Lanyu, we can slowly practice cultivation in this forest, but we can't stay here forever. We don't know how strong other people are getting. Maybe if we become extremely strong, we might be eliminated because we'll be too late. We have to check, said someone else. They were 7 people there, but they all hid their cultivation. After all, they were all geniuses and it was an exam. Some people had ulterior motives. Hiding their cultivation level was easy for them, they were geniuses, they could easily learn such small things. They were competitors in here, not allies. They had agreed to form an alliance because they really needed it. "Let's go," said Lin Feng. His eyes were twinkling. At that moment, he had the strength of the 9th Tian Qi layer. Of course, he also hit his cultivation level, just like the others. "Let's go," agreed Lu Lanyu, following him. A twinkling sword appeared above him. When people saw that terrifying Tian-level weapon, they were startled. It could kill some of them. "I was lucky, I found this sword in a lake. It's swift and ice-cold, perfect for me," Lu Lanyu smiled at them. Apart from him, someone else had a great blade. He had also been lucky in the forest. They entered the valley and suddenly an extremely cold wind filled with bestial energies started blowing. "Be careful, since we're a team, we must cooperate. Who wants to defend?" said Lu Lanyu to the others. A strong-looking guy moved forwards and said, "I will." "All right, Fan Jiang, you help us defend. I'll attack quickly." "Who else can attack quickly and help me destroy enemies quickly?" "I will," said the one who had the gigantic blade. "Good. We'll stay in the front." "Who's quick?" "Me," said someone else. Lin Feng also came out and said, "I control wind intent. You cover us and kill those that manage to get through our net," said Lu Lanyu. "The last two ones, you kill as you can. We don't know what we'll go through, so we have to be really careful and kill our enemies quickly." They continued moving through the valley in two lines. They soon saw a group of beasts. So many beasts. They're all level 4 or 5 Tian level beasts. It shouldn't be too difficult. "Let's go," said Lu Lanyu. Everybody followed quickly. "Defenders, stay in formation. If we surround them, we can win easily." The beasts roared furiously as they caught sight of the intruders. Fan Zhang's spirit appeared, a gigantic shield. The beast's attacks crashed onto his shield. Lu Lanyu and the young man with the gigantic blade started killing beasts on both sides. Lu Lanyu's sword contained cold strength, the young man's blade contained fire strength. They started shredding the beasts. However, the beasts' energies blotted out the sky and covered the earth, and bore down on the group. Lin Feng and the others also started attacking and crushing beasts. They didn't stop moving, always moving forwards. As they walked forwards, beasts' bodies collapsed on both sides. But they didn't look happy. There were still many beasts, lions, eagles. Their eyes looked piercingly cold. Half a day later, they finally escaped the valley. They saw a river and a city ahead of them. They were all covered with blood. Fan Jiang had even lost an arm to a griffin. If he hadn't moved quickly, he would have died. People of the Tian Qi layer couldn't recover easily. Only Zun cultivators could use their blood to grow their body parts back. "It seems like I will fail the challenge of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds," said Fan Jiang, sounding sad. His arm had been cut off, and he was injured. He couldn't compete with other people anymore. "Don't give up. Even though we left the valley, we don't know what awaits us. Let's stick together and move on," said Lu Lanyu, slapping Fan Jiang's shoulder. Fan Jiang's eyes glittered, as he looked at the others. "Good suggestion. Let's go to the city together, let's not waste time," said someone. Everybody nodded and continued walking forwards. They glanced back and considered that the valley filled with powerful beasts behind them probably sufficed to stop many people. Chapter 2170, They hid their cultivation level. "What is in the city?" wondered Lin Feng, looking at the ancient road leading to the city. It was filled with qi. People felt extremely good in that qi, they all looked more carefree and happier. It was completely different from the forest they had come from, which had been cold. But could that really be a beautiful city? Nobody thought so. But since the road was there, they followed it. "Move," said Lu Lanyu. People's silhouettes flickered, only Fan Jiang didn't manage to follow, his legs too heavy. Lin Feng stopped and looked at Fan Jiang. If you don't feel well, you should give up. Fan Jiang looked at Lin Feng and smiled even though he looked like he was struggling. He understood what Lin Feng meant. They were 7 people, they didn't know one another, yet they had to stay together. In case of danger, nobody would care about him, they would protect themselves before protecting him. Fan Jiang wasn't stupid. His arm had been cut off. In case of danger, they weren't going to risk their lives for him. Lin Feng warning him, that was rather nice of him. Thank you. And thank you for having helped a moment before. I still want to try, though, said Fan Jiang, smiling at Lin Feng. When the griffin had torn off his arm, Lin Feng had helped him kill it. Without Lin Feng, Fan Jiang would have died. It's just my duty, replied Lin Feng. He turned around and continued walking on the ancient road. They rapidly drew closer to the city. People stopped when they arrived in front of the entrance of the city. Lu Lanyu turned around and smiled. Fan Jiang, how do you feel? Can we still rely on your defense spirit? Even though the city looks calm and peaceful, we don't know what awaits us there. Fan Jiang nodded and walked forwards. He released his shield spirit and entered the city. People behind closely followed him into the city. Mist enveloped everything. There were many streets and roads, and darkened buildings. Everyone was nervous. A mist city. That's a big mist palace, said Lu Lanyu after taking a few steps. It was difficult to see the main road. A mist city? Lin Feng was astonished. The diviner had made a mist city in here. After leaving the forests, would everyone end up in this mist city? What does it mean? The crowd didn't understand. Lu Lanyu rose up into the air. When he reached the same level as the building tops, he realized he couldn't move forwards and frowned. It's not only a mist city, it's also forbidden to fly. We can only walk around and try to understand what we have to do. Lu Lanyu looked at the crowd. Let's keep the group harmonious, otherwise, it will be very difficult to move on. Indeed, now, we need to stick together more than ever. Let's go, then. Let's see what kind of mist city this is. The road was extremely wide. Since they couldn't fly, they had to run. They tried many roads, but found nothing. There's a sound. At that moment, the crowd shivered. In the distance, some loud sounds were audible. They stopped walking. The sounds grew louder and louder. On the path, terrifying black lights appeared, and demon intent filled the air ominously. Zune level beast, that's a Zune level beast. The black light is fire, a black fire. It's a demon lion. His demon fire is terrifying. Demon fire abstruse energy can easily kill us. People's faces stiffened. The lion was getting closer and closer. The atmosphere became oppressive. Fan Jiang, shield, protect us, shouted Lu Lanyu. Fan Jiang's face stiffened. However, his shield spirit still moved forwards and grew bigger and bigger, turning into a gigantic shield. The demon lion was getting closer and closer and showing its claws. Cracking sounds could be heard as the shield spirit began to shatter. Let's go! Lu Lanyu shouted furiously. He turned around and started running. The others turned around without the least hesitation and abandoned Fan Jiang. No, Fan Jiang released pure qi and condensed his shield again. With the strength of the 7th Tian Qi layer, he could resist that Zune level beast. However, the demon lion continued advancing and destroyed his shield. Fan Jiang looked desperate. However, at that moment, a strong wind started blowing. Fan Jiang sensed a strong wind carry him backwards, he had cold sweat. He turned around and saw Lin Feng as his heart pounded. Thank you, Fan Jiang looked confused. He had almost died, and the others had abandoned him. The demon lion continued running. Lin Feng was really quick, and rapidly caught up with the others. What are you doing? They were all furious. Lin Feng was drawing the demon lion right to them. "I want to kill the demon lion," said Lin Feng indifferently. People's eyes glittered thoughtfully. If they joined hands, they could kill the lion, but the problem was, who would dare risk their life? Fan Jiang was a perfect example. Everybody had abandoned him without the least hesitation. "All right, let's kill him together," said Lu Lanyu, his eyes glittering. He said, "Let's join hands." "Can you still defend, Fan Jiang?" "We'll all join hands and kill the lion in one attack." Fan Jiang was amazed at their gall, but Lin Feng nodded, so Fan Jiang said, "All right." After that, he released his spirit again. At the same time, he condensed pure qi. Lin Feng stopped as a gigantic shield appeared in front of Fan Jiang. The air began to rumble with building energy. The lion caught up with them and its power bore down on them. Cracks appeared on the shield. But at that time Lu Lanyu also attacked from one side. The young man with the blade attacked from the other side. Cut! A terrifying sword intent filled the air. The sword intent was really powerful. Lu Lanyu had hidden his real strength before. The young man with the blade cut off the lion's legs, crippling it. Roar! The demon lion roared furiously and spat out black flames. Condense! It was as if time had stopped. The fire stopped and then continued moving forwards. They were all in the air above the lion, Lin Feng included. They could fly as high as the buildings were, and since lion was only half as tall, they could stay above it. A wind sword descended from the sky and split the lion's head. The lion exploded loudly, and then it disappeared. At the same time, two lights moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng raised his hand. The others were startled and stared at Lin Feng. The lion had disappeared, nobody was worried anymore. "Lin Feng, what was that? Show us," said Lu Lanyu, smiling at him. Lin Feng proposed killing the lion, and he carried out the last attack. "The item is his. He doesn't need to show it to everyone," said Fan Jiang coldly. Dazzling blade lights moved towards Lin Feng. He was startled and almost didn't have time to react. Fan Jiang turned around and looked at the young man with the blade. Then, he looked at Lin Feng and said, "Lin Feng, you have to dash." Lu Lanyu's sword lights shot towards Fan Jiang. Fan Jiang disappeared. "Piss off, everybody else," said the young man with the blade. He and Lu Lanyu rose up into the air at the same time. They were both staring at Lin Feng. What a surprise! The two cultivators had hidden their cultivation level, of course. They know one another from outside, thought the crowd. They all pulled long faces. Someone asked, "You two are really strong, why did you want us to stay with you?" "As a plan B. How could we know what we were going to bump into on the way?" replied Lu Lanyu, smiling coldly. "I wouldn't have thought that beast could have such great treasures. If we had known that earlier, we would have attacked already," agreed the other one. They both knew one another, and were fellow disciples. They hadn't even given their real names. Chapter 2171, Exit. Blade lights illuminated Lin Feng's face. He suddenly felt ice cold. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at Lu Lanyu, whose eyes looked ice cold, detached, and emotionless. A black sword appeared in one of Lin Feng's hands, filled with a dark qi. He raised his other hand and put something in his mouth. It was the beast's heart. Lin Feng chewed down the heart. Lu Lanyu shuddered with fear when he saw Lin Feng's eyes. "How cold!" "Move!" shouted Lu Lanyu, releasing his sword and fire intent. His sword started burning. His fellow disciple's blade also became more dazzling and colder. The two cultivators had opposed yet supplementary cultivation types. A cold wind started blowing around them. The two cultivators shifted, one moving to the front, the other one staying behind. Their blade and sword energies hadn't reached Lin Feng yet, but he already felt oppressed by the deadly strength. Lin Feng moved at the same time. His black sword lunged forwards. Lin Feng moved like a leaf in the wind. He looked light, agile, and graceful. His sword looked misty, but a sword trail followed it through the air. Lu Lanyu's sword stopped, and he also stopped moving. He looked petrified. Lin Feng was standing next to him. Suddenly, blood gushed from Lu Lanyu's waist. His body was cut in two. Despair was plain on his face as his lips twitched, and then he turned into a beam of light and disappeared. How is that possible? His fellow disciple's face turned deathly pale, and his hand was shaking. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at him coldly. The man shuddered with fear, and unconsciously retreated. He was a genius, an incredible sword cultivator from Godly Cloud City. He had been waiting to fight on the battle stages of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds for so long, and now he was probably going to die. Abstruse energy, wind abstruse energy. How could he be faster than my fellow disciple? He thought, pulling a long face. Lin Feng slowly walked towards him with his black sword. The man condensed energies in his blade as Lin Feng arrived in front of him. He suddenly released his blade, trailing glittering lights as it shot towards Lin Feng. However, his blade never reached Lin Feng at all. The same thing that had happened to Lu Lanyu happened to him as well. He suddenly looked desperate, and then he disappeared. A metallic sound rang out as the blade fell down to the ground. There, only the blade and the sword left, Lu Lanyu and his fellow disciples' weapons. Who said the most beautiful battles would take place on the battle stages of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds? Who would have thought that the Fortune Shrine would make us start all over from the beginning? The battles aren't as incredible as when we were emperors, but still, some of them can be breathtaking. And more people are getting eliminated, thought the other members of his group. Lin Feng glanced at them as his black sword disappeared. In his hand, a key appeared. He put his godly awareness inside, and after a short time, he understood something. He started running away, ignoring the others. After Lin Feng left, some terrifying sounds could be heard nearby. What's going on? Demon Fire Chi. Another demon lion. The others frowned and gazed into the distance. They had to kill a beast to understand what way they had to go. Some people regretted because they had the feeling they weren't strong enough. They felt like they should have leveled up in the forest before coming out, because the demon lions could kill them. Now they needed to kill the demon lions to move on. But the problem was that if they had stayed in the forest a little longer to become stronger, they might have been eliminated because they hadn't finished the first part of the challenge within the allocated time. All in all, only heroes could pass the challenge. We have to join hands, said someone. There were only 3 of them left. Even if we kill the demon lion, how can we share the loot? Asked one of them skeptically. They were 3 people. If they killed the demon lion, only one of them would obtain the heart. The one who kills the lion can take it. If we separate, we'll all die killed by the demon lions. We can't survive alone. Alright, let's attack then, the 3 of them nodded. They were getting ready to fight against demon lions, but Lin Feng didn't care about that. At that moment, Lin Feng had arrived at the end of a road. There was a sealed door there. Lin Feng took out the key and put it into the lock, opened the door and went through. When Lin Feng crossed the door, the first master of godly clouds, Hua Qing Feng, was done with the last battle. He was standing on a battle stage and surrounded by lights. He looked calm and composed. In front of him, someone had been crushed, but that person disappeared and was sent back in lights into the distance. In the sky, a dazzling star twinkled and descended onto Hua Qingfeng's body. Suddenly, Hua Qingfeng disappeared from the battle stage. In the outside world, Hua Qingfeng's real body moved. He suddenly opened his eyes. They were glittering. Hua Qingfeng is awake. Many people were staring at Hua Qingfeng on his pillar. A star was floating above his head and a number appeared, 1. Congratulations, you're the first one for now. Get ready for the next step, said the diviner to Hua Qingfeng. Hua Qingfeng looked unruffled as he nodded. That was only the first part of the challenge of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Many people were being eliminated. For now, he was the first. The first master of godly clouds is incredibly strong, as expected. Now he's first. Can anyone still surpass him? Sighed the crowd. Real geniuses remained real geniuses. Even if they started from scratch, they were still dazzling. The crowd had been watching the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds for a few days already. Even if the participants were weak in that world, many people tried to become stronger. People outside kept staring at them. They couldn't wait to see the results of the first round. Lin Feng crossed the door and saw 4 doors in front of him. Each door was shining, with words on them, skills and techniques on the first door, spells on the second, weapons on the third, battle challenge on the fourth. Without hesitation, Lin Feng crossed the last door, battle challenge. Terrifying beasts appeared in front of him. His face stiffened. The beasts were all Zune-level beasts. He could have obtained spells, skills and techniques, or weapons, but he had chosen that last door. It was a dangerous choice. Several pairs of eyes were staring at him and making him feel cold. He shook his hand and condensed black lights. A black sword appeared, and at the same time, his eyes became dark and cold. Lin Feng moved like the wind and threw himself at the first beast. It was an ancient ape, roaring angrily. In a flash, sound abstruse energies filled the air and hurt Lin Feng's eardrums. At the same time, the ancient ape brandished its claws and ran towards Lin Feng, making the ground shake. In the air, a great rock spat out sharp wind blades which prevented Lin Feng from retreating. Lin Feng moved like a leaf. His wind abstruse energies were already powerful. At the same time, he could see everything clearly with his dark eyes. The ancient ape raised its fist and punched out in the direction of Lin Feng's head. Lin Feng craned his head sideways, his cheeks burned even as sword penetrated into the ape's throat. He grabbed the ape's arm and pushed him with his foot to take out his sword, just as the rock's talons moved towards Lin Feng's head. Lin Feng suddenly turned around and crouched, facing the great rock. A strong wind filled with sword energies moved towards the great rock and cut apart its claws. Blood gushed and the great rock shrieked furiously as it rose up in the air. Lin Feng stood up again, surrounded by terrifying beasts. His face was a mask under the pressure. 2 days later, Lin Feng's clothes were torn apart even more. His body was riddled with wounds. He crossed the door and at that moment, lights surrounded him. He slowly rose up into the air and ended up on a vast field. Many people were there, all of them surrounded by star lights. They looked solemn and respectful. In the center, there was a battle stage. 2 people were fighting fiercely. I'm not early. Many people are here already, thought Lin Feng glancing at the crowd. Luckily, the group he had joined had acted quickly. If he had arrived a little bit later, he might have been eliminated. Chapter 2172, Who's the Loser? In the outside world. After Hua Qingfeng came out, more people came out continuously. 50 people had already emerged. People in the crowd kept chatting and realized that those 50-something people were famous in the continent of the 9 clouds. Of the 9 first masters of the continent of the 9 clouds, 7 had already come out. A few young people well known in Godly Cloud City had also come out. Of course, there were some people who weren't famous, either. Who is the 5th one? He must be extremely strong. The 6th one seems to be Prince Wuxia. That person came out even before Prince Wuxia. The crowd noticed someone they didn't know, and were curious. I've heard that he was from the Dark Knight region as well. He's terrifyingly strong, Chu Chun Chiu, King Chu's descendant. King Chu. He was an insane cultivator in the continent of the Nine Clouds a long time ago. He studied the sky-absorbing scriptures, right? Indeed, that's King Chu. No wonder that guy is fifth. He's not a good person. By the way, who's the second one? I asked many people, but nobody knows him. Asked that same person. I'm not sure. He's second, he couldn't be unknown. Besides, look at his face, he looks very composed. He didn't even glance at the first master of godly clouds, Hua Qingfeng. He looks extremely confident. He's from the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry, said a young man proudly. Number 2 was the being who had captured Lin Feng's physical body back then, and stolen a spiritual deployment body. He had come out shortly after Hua Qingfeng. We probably won't be disappointed when all those geniuses battle later, sighed many people excitedly. Dazzling beam of lights kept appearing. Lin Feng had already watched 2 battles. After arriving, he understood the rules. People in there could challenge anyone who had come in after them, because they had arrived first. If they won, lights surrounded them and took them away. It's just that Lin Feng didn't know where they were sent. If they lost, they didn't disappear either, they turned into illusions and were sent back. Lin Feng saw some people he knew, Lei Dong Tian, Wang Shi, Jiuling Huang, Ru Feng. But Jiuling Huang was before him and Ru Feng was behind him. Apart from them, Xian Ren and the 13 young beast masters were there. When the 13 young beast masters saw Lin Feng, their eyes glittered with sharp lights. I wasted too much time. There are 1,000 participants, and it seems that 100 people arrived before me. Apart from those people who have already disappeared, there are 100 people in front of me as well. There are so many geniuses here, thought Lin Feng. Of course, he wasn't trying to belittle himself. He knew perfectly well that if he hadn't wasted time, he would have arrived much earlier. At that moment, 2 people battled. Lin Feng recognized one of them, the girl he had seen when he had turned into a cauldron. She looked as cold as usual. She defeated her opponent and disappeared. Lin Feng, said someone at that moment. Lin Feng turned around and smiled, second fellow disciple, you're here. Yes, I wouldn't have thought there'd be so many people, said Ho Qing Lin, looking surprised. Indeed, there were many geniuses there. He had come as quickly as he could. It doesn't matter, it's just the first round. 1,000 people is a lot, but even if we finish in the top 300, it should be fine. We should be able to move on even in such circumstances, said Lin Feng. Not too many people could be eliminated here. Yes, I hope we win that battle, agreed Ho Qing Lin. Yes, you can try up to 3 times here. If you fail 3 times, you're kicked out. So if 3 people challenge you and defeat you, the same fate awaits you, someone else chimed in coldly. Lin Feng turned his head and saw Lei Dong Tian. He smiled coldly. 3 defeats. Could such a thing happen? Only people who looked weak would be challenged by 3 people. People in the front wanted to leave as soon as possible. You want to challenge him when it's your turn? Asked someone at that moment. It was one of the 13 young beast masters, the 6th beast. He wasn't far from Lin Feng. Of course. Even though I can't kill him, I will put my feet on him and use him to leave this place, said Lei Dong Tian coldly. If he could kill Lin Feng, he wouldn't hesitate. Last time, you escaped, now, you won't be as lucky. When I challenge you, you'll have to fight and I'll defeat you. Those were the rules. Therefore, Lei Dong Tian was excited. Alright, we also have 2 people who want to challenge him as well, said the 6th beast coldly. The 5th beast was there too. The 3rd and 4th beasts had already left a short while ago. That's a promise, said Lei Dong Tian, smiling at the 6th beast. He looked at Lin Feng and said, don't think that you're safe because it's the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. When you get eliminated, the only thing which will await you will be death. It's such a pity that we can't crush you during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. As they were talking, a dazzling light illuminated Lei Dong Tian. He looked surprised and his face stiffened. Someone before him was challenging him. The bright light ported him onto the battle stage. There was someone in a cyan robe in front of him. King intent filled the air. The man had a king-type body. Lin Feng smiled when he saw who it was. Lei Dong Tian said coldly, "Who are you?" "Dark Night Region, Ancient World Clan, Lang Yi," whispered Lang Yi. Then, he jumped forwards, cyan lights twinkling behind him, but he used neither chi nor a spell. He only used king intent. "Bastard," swore Lei Dong Tian coldly. They had started from scratch. Lei Dong Tian could still use demon strength, and he also knew one demon skill. He punched out in Lang Ye's direction. His demon punch moved fast, but Lang Ye's hands waved, world lights glittered, and the dark lights disappeared. Lang Yi drew closer and closer to Lei Dong Tian. Eh? Lei Dong Tian was astonished. World strength. He jumped forwards, his demon intent surging. Dark lightning appeared around his fist as he punched out in Lang Ye's direction. He wanted to destroy the world strength. Lang Yi punched back without the least hesitation, and the two fists collided. Cyan lights flashed. The energies exploded and moved in all directions. Lang Yi stepped forwards and disappeared. Lei Dong Tian frowned. After that, Lang Yi reappeared in front of Lei Dong Tian, his hand shooting towards Lei Dong Tian's throat. Lei Dong Tian continued releasing his strength, but the world lights crushed his energies. Lang Yi successfully grabbed onto Lei Dong Tian's throat. Lei Dong Tian disappeared and was shunted back to his initial position. At the same time, different lights surrounded Lang Yi. At the same cultivation level, people who have a king-type body have the advantage, murmured the crowd. Lang Yi had a king-type body, a world king body. "If we had fought properly, I would have killed you already," said Lang Yi disdainfully, before he disappeared. Lei Dong Tian's face turned deathly pale. "One defeat," said Lin Feng calmly. Lei Dong Tian frowned and pulled a long face. He stared at Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and continued, "If you lose 3 times, you'll be eliminated and won't be able to participate in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds anymore." Lei Dong Tian clenched his fists, bones crackling as his chi shot up into the sky. Dark lights surrounded him as he stared at Lin Feng and said, "I changed my mind. I'll kill him on the battle stage of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Therefore, I hope you guys can teach him a good lesson. Don't eliminate him. Let him rise in rank." Lei Dong Tian said to the young beast masters. He wanted Lin Feng to rise in rank and then he'd kill him. Chapter 2173, Rising in Rank. "Alright, as you wish. We'll let him rise in rank," said the 2 young beast masters, smiling coldly when they heard Lei Dong Tian. They were all staring at Lin Feng. "Good. When he rises up, we can kill him," said Lei Dong Tian coldly. The battles continued. People in front of Lin Feng continued challenging other people. When they won, they left and others ended up in the queue again. Finally, it was Lei Dong Tian's turn again. Lin Feng landed on the stage at the same time. "I initially wanted to eliminate you, but I changed my mind. I'll use you to get qualified, then I'll kill you on the battle stage of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds, swore Lei Dong Tian coldly. Dark lightnings twinkled around him. He had already broken through to the Zun Qi layer, and understood several types of abstruse energies. If Lang Yi hadn't known world strength, he wouldn't have beaten him. Lin Feng said nothing. The previous time, he had left when fighting against Lei Dong Tian, so the latter felt confident in beating him. But to Lin Feng, Lei Dong Tian was boring. Lei Dong Tian's movements were explosive, and his demon lightning was powerful. Lin Feng already felt pressure, but he moved like the wind too. Lei Dong Tian's lightning passed next to his shoulders, but Lei Dong Tian didn't stop. A terrifying strength came down on Lin Feng. Lin Feng had the feeling his legs were much heavier. "Die," said Lei Dong Tian, punching out in Lin Feng's direction. Lin Feng was suddenly surrounded by lightning. He didn't have Lang Ye's powers, who could destroy them with world lights. However, a beast roared furiously. He stepped forwards as a demon ox appeared. It looked like a demon king, tough and resistant. His defense increased, and the lightning couldn't pierce through. At the same time, Lin Feng raised his fist which turned jet black. Lei Dong Tian was stupefied. He released even more lightning. It felt like the air was about to explode. Lin Feng's chi changed again. He suddenly looked like a great rock and rose up into the air. A great rock's shadow appeared around him as he swiftly landed in front of Lei Dong Tian. "Roar!" the bird cawed furiously. A terrifying strength oppressed Lei Dong Tian. Bestial strength, he can turn into different beasts. The crowd was astonished. Lin Feng could turn into different types of beasts, what a terrifying power. That guy's comprehensive abilities were incredible. He had started from scratch a short time before, and amazingly he could already understand so much. A terrifying strength surrounded Lei Dong Tian and attacked him. His silhouette began to distort. He stared at Lin Feng, his face deathly pale. "Piss off," shouted Lei Dong Tian furiously, releasing more lightning at Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng turned into a hawk, with even more acute perception. He moved swiftly and fiercely, suddenly appearing behind Lei Dong Tian. He raised his fist, aiming at Lei Dong Tian's head, and absorbing terrifying sword intent at the same time. Lei Dong Tian's face stiffened and he slowly became even more distorted. He turned around and looked at Lin Feng with murder in his eyes. "Whom will you use to get qualified?" said Lin Feng calmly. His sword intent gradually split apart Lei Dong Tian's body. Lei Dong Tian's face turned deathly pale. Lin Feng released him as his sword crashed onto him. In the twinkling of an eye, Lei Dong Tian's silhouette was surrounded by lights, but this time, he was sent back and ended up where Lin Feng was in the queue. Everybody rose up one position in the queue. But the lights which surrounded Lei Dong Tian in the first place now surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng had won, Lei Dong Tian had lost. Lin Feng couldn't get qualified instantly, because he had arrived later. It wouldn't have been fair for the people who had arrived earlier than him. So he won and replaced Lei Dong Tian. Lei Dong Tian's face twitched and he said coldly, "I would have never thought that you found some great spells, skills, and techniques in here. But in the outside world, with our true strength, you won't be that lucky." In the outside world? Lin Feng was surprised. He looked at Lei Dong Tian mockingly, suddenly realizing something. Lei Dong Tian was staring at Lin Feng. You lost twice. When it's my turn, you'll lose once again," said Lin Feng smiling, then he said in a cold way, "You, Lei Dong Tian, will be disqualified." Lei Dong Tian's face turned deathly pale. When Wang Shi heard Lin Feng, he smiled coldly. If Lei Dong Tian was eliminated, the Devamara Thunder Clan would be furious. If the first young man of the Devamara Thunder Clan didn't even manage to pass the first test, it would be a complete humiliation. They thought he would end up in the top 100. "You don't dare fight against me in normal conditions," swore Lei Dong Tian coldly. "Poor you," Lin Feng replied disdainfully. Then, he stopped looking at him. He watched the battles patiently. "What do you want?" asked Lei Dong Tian. Nobody paid attention to him. "Great imperial weapons, skills and techniques, anything, the Devamara Thunder Clan can give you anything you want," promised Lei Dong Tian. He didn't want to be eliminated. He hadn't even had time to use his real strength. Lin Feng could defeat him in here, but he was just lucky. Devamara Thunder Clan, Lei Dong Tian, you think I will negotiate with such people again? You're ridiculous, said Lin Feng calmly. Lei Dong Tian's face paled. Lin Feng was referring to the fact that they had sold him out. What should I do, said Lei Dong Tian. Are you begging me? Lin Feng turned around and looked at Lei Dong Tian. If you're begging me, at least try and sound sincere. Kneel down. Maybe I will consider it. Kneel down. Lei Dong Tian was furious and said, Lin Feng, you're insolent. Lin Feng laughed and closed his eyes, no longer bothering to look at Lei Dong Tian. Lei Dong Tian's mouth twitched. He wanted to say something, but he had no words. Lin Feng's turn was approaching. There were more than 100 people in the outside world already. The crowd was convinced that those people had the potential to end up in the top 100 at the end of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. Lei Dong Tian's face was pale as he stared at the seemingly meditating Lin Feng. How could he give up? How could he fail? He needed to be able to come and go from the inner part of Godly Cloud City as he wished. He knew what it meant. He wanted to be strong and make the Devamara Thunder Clan even more glorious. He was struggling to remain calm. Only one person was left before Lin Feng. Lin Feng still looked unaffected. Lei Dong Tian let himself fall down onto his knees loudly and begged, "Is this good enough?" The crowd was stupefied. Lei Dong Tian was kneeling down for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. People in the outside world could see that clearly. Lei Dong Tian was kneeling down before Lin Feng. People from Godly Cloud City could see that, the members of the Devamara Thunder Clan could see it. Everyone could see it clearly. Dong Tian is doing that for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. After all, he has lost twice already. Lin Feng is probably forcing him to do that, a strong cultivator of the Devamara Thunder Clan said coldly. When they get out, Dong Tian will definitely kill Lin Feng and regain face. Definitely. At that moment, Lin Feng opened his eyes and looked at Lei Dong Tian. He said calmly, I initially intended to let you rise in rank. Lin Feng turned around. It was his turn, but he didn't challenge Lei Dong Tian. Lei Dong Tian was still on his knees, feeling humiliated. Lin Feng was merciful because he found Lei Dong Tian pitiful. Lin Feng challenged someone from the back and won easily. Lights surrounded him and he disappeared, drawn back to his real body. He was back in the real world. He opened his eyes, glanced at the crowd and took a deep breath. He was out, he had passed the first test. The diviner's abilities were incredible. Surprisingly, he could force the consciousness of others to leave their body. If they died in the fake world, they died for real. Lin Feng raised his head, sensing something. He saw the diviner looking at him, smiling indifferently. Lin Feng smiled back at him. The diviner remembered him. I thought you'd end up in Fortune Shrine via other means, but you're progressing faster than I had thought. You arrived precisely at the right time for the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. What I told you last time still applies. Of course, you have to rank in the top 100 first. That way, you'll be able to come to Fortune Shrine. Keep it up, said a voice in Lin Feng's head. Lin Feng nodded. He was going to do his best to end up in the top 100. Even though his rank was 130-something at that moment, it was just temporary. He was going to eliminate many people like Lei Dong Tian. Chapter 2174, Watching battles. Well, after Lin Feng came out, Lei Dong Tian also emerged. He looked at Lin Feng coldly, not happy even though he had passed the first test. Lin Feng, you will regret this, said Lei Dong Tian loudly, his eyes filled with murder. The spectators could all see what was happening in the fake world, so Lei Dong Tian understood that when Lin Feng had made him kneel down, everybody had seen him, including the members of his own clan. How humiliating. He really wanted to get his revenge. You still don't understand. Continue kneeling down, said Lin Feng indifferently. He glanced at Lei Dong Tian's rank, 136th. Lin Feng ranked 135th, Jian Mang, Ruo Xie, Tan Tai, Tian Qi, and Jing Shou are there, too. Lin Feng looked at the fake world and saw some of his friends. Tan Tai, Jing Shou, and Tian Qi were still in the Misty City, though. If they didn't hurry, they would not have the opportunity to get qualified. Lin Feng hoped they'd be lucky. Tan Tai's cultivation is special because in his tribe, grand talents mature slowly. Making him start from the beginning must be extremely difficult. Jing Shou is a powerful assassin, but he's bad at direct battles. Even though his situation is not as bad as Tan Tai's, it'll still be difficult for him. And my third fellow disciple is also struggling, thought Lin Feng. Apart from them, he also noticed Wu as well as someone he would have never expected to see there, Qin Feng. Qin Feng was there, and she wasn't far behind Ho Qin Lin. She had followed Shiju Lao Xian for some time and was now participating in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. She looked even more beautiful than before, noble and pure. Of course, apart from them, there were also some people who had ranked quite high during the Pathfinder Day of the Imperial ranking list in the Holy City, Do Zhanseng, Shiyun Feng, Gili. Lin Feng hadn't thought he'd see them during the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. I wonder how many people will get qualified during the first round, he thought. People kept coming out of the fake world. Some people also died. Lin Feng sighed. How many geniuses would die because of the meeting? The crowd was waiting patiently, watching all the battles. Finally, the 500th star appeared above someone. The diviner raised his hand and the fake world grew distorted, then disappeared. Everybody woke up. Those who hadn't been fast enough to get qualified looked sad. They knew that they might have been eliminated already. When they saw the stars above other people's heads, they were certain of it. 500 people are qualified. The rest are eliminated. The people who are qualified are talented and determined. They are the most outstanding. The diviner looked at the crowd and said calmly, those who are not qualified can leave the pillars. The losers looked both desperate and disappointed. They had struggled to get there, and now it was over for them. As they jumped off their pillars, the pillars disappeared. The platforms didn't look as boundless as before. Lin Feng, good luck. Tan Tai shouted to him while jumping off his pillar. Lin Feng nodded back, noticing that Tian Qi and Jing Shou hadn't gotten qualified either. Ho Qin Lin and Jian Meng did make it through, however, as did Ruo Xie, Jun Mo Shi, Qin Feng, and Wu. Jun Mo Shi and Lang Yi had king-type bodies. Qin Feng and Wu were extremely talented, no weaker than people who had king-type bodies. Wu was a supernatural bird, a golden crow. To animals, being a supernatural bird was similar to having a king-type body for human beings. Of course, the next rounds would be more difficult for them. Ho Qin Lin, Ruo Xie, and Wu probably couldn't compete with the strongest cultivators. If they did fight against them, the consequences would be tragic. Qin Feng had followed and received Shiju Lao Xian's teachings. Lin Feng couldn't evaluate how strong she was. That guy must be Hua Qin Feng. Lin Feng looked over at the first master of godly clouds. The second one is him. Lin Feng stared at the one who had stolen the spiritual deployment body from the celestial remarkable deployment ministry. He was stupefied. The one who had the spiritual deployment body sensed that someone was studying him and looked over at Lin Feng. He frowned when he saw him and then cruelly, "Little boy, it's you. That physical body was yours. You must have my cauldron." Lin Feng frowned. Surprisingly, that guy recognized him. How strong, especially since Lin Feng was using his real face at that moment, not the one he had used in the Celestial Remarkable Deployment Ministry. Back then, your soul was in the cauldron. I thought you had died, but that your body had remained intact. I was too careless, said that guy coldly. Cauldron? The name of the girl whom Lin Feng had seen in the mountains when he was a cauldron was Jing. When she heard that, she looked surprised, as she had seen a strange cauldron in the mountains. But she didn't think about it too much, she just thought it was funny. Then, she looked over at Qing Feng, they had a similar qi. They both looked noble and cold. Chu Chun Chiu is fifth. Lin Feng glanced at the crowd. He wasn't going to be lonely during the next few rounds. Where are we? He finally wondered, glancing around. The platforms looked like individual worlds. However, he could see many people in the distance. They were watching the fighters, but they weren't from Godly Cloud City. They looked enigmatic and unfathomable, and were probably extremely strong. Inside a great hall, there was a young man wearing a snowy white robe. When people looked at him, their eyes were filled with awe and veneration. They knew what that young man's social status was. But the interesting part was that next to that young man, there was a young child. The child was a few years old, very young, but was already a cultivator of the top of the Zun Qi layer. Behind them was a group of people, all looking calm. They were all wearing snow-white robes. If Lin Feng saw one of them, he'd definitely recognize him, Xueshen Feng. He had fought against that man during the Pathfinder day of the Imperial ranking list. But Xueshen Feng didn't look very proud in front of the young man and the child in front of him. At that moment, Xueshen Feng glanced around and noticed Lin Feng. He looked at the child, but said nothing. He knew what linked Lin Feng and the child. Lin Feng, Zhetian and you belong to two different worlds. Your child will become a dazzling cultivator of the Snow Clan, and you will never meet him, thought Xueshen Feng. Zhetian was extremely talented, and everybody acknowledged him in the Snow Clan. It was no wonder, since Lin Feng and Meng Qing were both incredible cultivators, both of them very talented, and Meng Qing had a king-type body. If Ling Long hadn't left the Snow Clan back in the day, and if everything had happened according to the Snow Clan's plan, would her baby be stronger than Zhetian? Wondered Xueshen Feng, looking at the young man next to Zhetian. Zhetian, there will be some extremely strong cultivators. Watch carefully. It's an opportunity you have every 100 years only, said the young man next to Zhetian at that moment. He was staring at the platforms calmly. Uncle, there are many geniuses participating in this meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. If you fought against them at the same cultivation level, would you rank first? Asked little Zhetian. I'm not sure. We can never be sure, said that person calmly. Mother said that my father is a genius of the continent of the 9 clouds, said Zhetian. Your mother loves your father, so of course she says that. Zhetian, the thing is, you should forget your father. Because of him, you won't progress on the path of cultivation. Your heart should be like mine, you should solely focus on cultivation, said the young man to Zhetian. All right, said Zhetian, nodding as if he agreed. However, on the inside, he thought, you don't respect my father, your behavior is inadmissible. How can you tell me about principles? I can be a strong cultivator and protect and love my parents at the same time. Of course, Zhetian didn't say that. His mother had always told him that the members of the Snow Clan couldn't understand them, none of them. At the top of another palace was another young man, his chi looked extraordinary. He was looking at the platforms of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds and more precisely at Lin Feng. He smiled, brother Lin Feng surprisingly made it to the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. He's not like me. He chose his own path. He must have gone through a lot. I hope that brother Lin Feng will be able to succeed, or at least end up in the top 100. That way, we'll meet often. Thought that young man. Behind him was a group of people who didn't dare get close. They looked at him, their eyes filled with awe and veneration. A young woman was also staring at that young man. When she saw that young man's resplendent smile, she shivered. It was rare for him to smile so broadly. Chapter 2175, An instant Lin Feng didn't know that people were watching him. He also looked over some strong cultivators. Of course, he didn't look at people who were far away. Even if he had seen Zhetian, he wouldn't have recognized him. He didn't even know when Zhetian was born. He knew many people who were participating in the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. 2 terrifying cultivators, the one with the spiritual deployment body in St. Tianhun. He wasn't surprised to see them there. Lin Feng was really surprised when he saw a bald Buddhist monk deep in meditation. His chi hadn't changed so much, but he wasn't the same Buddhist monk as back in the days. He looked deeper and more enigmatic. Besides, there was no Buddha light around him. He looked quite ordinary, but the star above his head indicated that he was 8th in the ranking so far. He was the 8th person who had come out of that fake world. An ordinary person couldn't achieve such a thing. Besides, Lin Feng also noticed that Xian Ren seemed to know him. He kept talking to the Buddhist monk, but the Buddhist monk remained silent and ignored Xian Ren. Maybe that the Buddhist monk now practiced cultivation at Holy Mountain. Holy Mountain has Confucianist monks, sword monks, and Buddhist monks, sighed Lin Feng. He couldn't help but think about Fortune City back in the small world. Some of his former enemies had progressed so much. The diviner looked at the gathered fighters and smiled. The next battles will be extremely dangerous. However, I gave you a chance before, now you're all going to be in the same world, all of you. You all face one another. I know that you all have friends here or that there are people you know. Therefore, I'm sure you'll make alliances. You're allowed to. However, an alliance can only have 5 people. If you disobey and form an alliance of 6 people or more and encircle an enemy, no matter his situation, I'll kill you directly. I won't be merciful. And remember one thing, in the end, only 200 people will be left. So your alliances could turn against you in the end. Some people you consider friends could kill you, smiled the diviner. Everyone suddenly had chills. They knew the diviner wasn't lying, even people who were close, such as fellow disciples, might kill one another to rank higher. Therefore, alliances could be advantageous, but they could also be disadvantageous. People had to be careful at all times. That's a teleportation scepter. When you are badly injured or want to give up, you can teleport yourself out. When you break it, you'll stop moving for 3 seconds. During that time lapse, people can easily kill you. Therefore, it's preferable to use it when someone doesn't want to kill you, or when you're hiding. That way, you won't die. However, I don't see how you could use it in the middle of a potentially fatal battle, the diviner continued calmly. He waved his hands and many scepters moved towards the 500 contestants. They all took a deep breath. That item could be used only out of absolute necessity. None of them was willing to give up. They all hoped they wouldn't need the scepter. Lights filled the air and illuminated the platforms. Gradually, another world appeared. Nobody knew what technique the diviner used to cast such spells, able to create worlds in the blink of an eye. Maybe he used a terrifying saint weapon. Alright, go in. It's a free-for-all, everybody will face everybody else. But only 200 people will remain, remember. Great imperial weapons and so on are forbidden. If you violate the rules, I'll kill you instantly, declared the diviner. Everybody took a deep breath and jumped into the seemingly new world. However, when they jumped, everybody was astonished. They just ended up all together. Except during the first second, thought the crowd, remembering what the diviner had said. He had said they couldn't form groups of more than 6 people. Seemingly, that didn't apply to the first second, which was also a way to prevent them from killing one another during the first few seconds they were all together. Go! A strong wind started blowing. Some people escaped instantly. There were many powerful cultivators in the group, nobody dared stay there, it was too dangerous. Even the first masters of the continent of the Nine Clouds had to be careful, especially since everybody probably wanted to destroy the strongest cultivators first. That would be quite tragic for them. Therefore, at that moment, and without any exceptions, everybody moved away. Nobody could be sure that if they stayed in the group they wouldn't be killed quickly. A few people formed alliances immediately, since they weren't sure they could trust other people, including their fellow disciples. Of course, some people were really close to each other and trusted one another, such as the 13 young beast masters, of whom 4 were present, the 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th beasts were there. They stuck together as they retreated. "Little boy, give me back my cauldron," said the spiritual body to Lin Feng at that moment. He was really confident. Not only didn't he move back, but on the contrary, he threw himself at Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at him, his face stiffening. There were some people he really didn't want to fight against during the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds, and the spiritual body was one of the 3 cultivators he didn't want to fight against. The spiritual body could cast terrifying deployment spells in the blink of an eye. Lin Feng, die. Lei Dong Tian jumped forwards as lighting rose to the skies, hurtling towards Lin Feng as fearsome Kulpa lights appeared. Blood Qi dashed to the skies. The young beast masters looked at Lin Feng with lipless smiles on their faces. A terrifying blood Qi filled the air as their blood Qi turned into wings. After having had their cultivator restrained during the previous round, they were finally enjoying their cultivation again. "Bastards," swore Lin Feng, his face stiff. He suddenly moved back a legendary great deployment master, for young beast masters, the first young man of the Devamara Thunder clan, Lei Dong Tian. Lin Feng was furious. All these people wanted to attack him. The diviner was cruel, sending everyone to the same place. Lin Feng ran away. Deployment lights surrounded him, deployment wings appeared on his back, he released as many cosmic energies as he could and he flew away at top speed. In the twinkling of an eye, everybody outside stared at Lin Feng winging past them. "Who's that guy? His speed is terrifying. He's 135th and he's that fast. It's the one who made Lei Dong Tian kneel down in the first test. Now Lei Dong Tian wants to get his revenge. Number 2 is also chasing him. He's terrifyingly fast. This is what the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds looks like," thought the astonished fighters. Lin Feng was incredibly fast, little more than a beam of light. Demon wings appeared on Lei Dong Tian's back, he was fast and aggressive. However, neither Lei Dong Tian nor the young beast masters were the fastest ones, the faster one was the one who used deployment spell agility techniques. That was what made people's hearts pound. No wonder this is the meeting of the continent of the Nine Clouds. Those people are the strongest emperors of the continent of the Nine Clouds. How strong! Thought the watchers. Their hearts were pounding furiously. When Qing Feng saw all this, her beautiful eyes twinkled with ice-cold lights. Suddenly, dazzling and beautiful wings appeared in her back. People were startled, she looked like an angel. She flew after Lin Feng. When Qing saw Qing Feng, she was astonished. Wings appeared on her back as well, her wings were red like fire. She looked breathtaking beautiful. She chased after Qing Feng. Phoenix. When the crowd saw that, they frowned, 2 phoenixes. People took deep breaths. This round was incredible. So many people had incredible wings. Besides, it wasn't over, a supernatural bird blazed like the sun and also flew in Lin Feng's direction. Gulp. Many people gulped down. All those wings, deployment wings, Devamara wings, sanguinary blood Qi wings, phoenix wings, fire phoenix wings, golden crow's wings, all those wings at the same time, what a spectacular scene. Chapter 2176, on the verge of breaking out, Jun Mo Shi, Ho Qing Lin, gather, shouted Lang Yi loudly at that moment. Lin Feng and those people were extremely fast. He couldn't catch up with them. Lin Feng's fighting abilities were better than his. He hoped Lin Feng would be alright. If they managed to gather, things would be easier. Jian Mang, Ruo Xie, gather, shouted Ho Qing Lin at the same time. Jun Mo Shi, Lang Yi, Ho Qing Lin, Jian Mang and Ruo Xie gathered together quickly. It was a terrifying alliance. The most important thing was that they could trust one another, which was rare. Ho Qing Lin and Ruo Xie had always been close, and Jian Mang was from Tiantai as well. He would never sell them out, he had principles. Jun Mo Shi and Lin Feng had been close friends for such a long time, and Ho Qing Lin, Jun Mo Shi, and Lang Yi had also become close friends. Therefore, they could trust one another. Ho Qing Lin was even ready to put his life in their hands. Of their 5 people, Jun Mo Shi and Lang Yi had king-type bodies, while Ho Qing Lin and the others were also extremely strong. Even though they couldn't fight against those terrifying cultivators alone in one-on-ones, as a team, the enemies had to form a team to defeat them as well, or it would be difficult to eliminate them. They had to finish in the top 200 at the end of this round. Very quickly, teams moved in all directions. A few people had already started fighting explosively. Nobody wanted to fight in the middle of the crowd. It was too dangerous. Chu Chun Chiu was in the air. He glanced around at people coldly, looking quite sinister. He was staring at Jun Mo Shi, Lang Yi, and the others. That group of people had 2 people with king-type bodies. One of them controlled reincarnation strength. He wanted to absorb those people's powers. But since they had formed a team, it was now too difficult. Tianhun. At the same time, Chu Chun Chiu looked over at Saint Tianhun. Saint Tianhuans looked surprised and glanced at Chu Chun Chiu coldly. On the way to Godly Clouds, Saint Tianhun had bumped into Chu Chun Chiu. They had been watching one another. They had even had a fight. Saint Tianhun had realized how terrifying Chu Chun Chiu was, and was privately shocked. They knew when to stop though, as they didn't want to overdo it. They didn't want to risk their lives, especially before the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. But now they were here. You want to try so early, said Saint Tianhun, staring at Chu Chun Chiu. He was convinced that Chu Chun Chiu and he could go quite far. He considered that their battle was supposed to be at the end, not at the beginning. Let's collaborate for now, what do you think, said Chu Chun Chiu to Saint Tianhun. Tianhun looked amused and he said Chu Chun Chiu, how? There are 2 people with king-type bodies there, and one with a strange reincarnation body. The 2 others are also extremely strong, I can't fight them alone, said Chu Chun Chiu pointing at Jun Mo Shi and the others. Saint Tianhun gazed into the distance and suddenly, his eyes twinkled, 2 people with king-type bodies. Alright, said Tianhun, looking evil, sly, and determined. Jun Mo Shi and the others sensed someone was watching them, and were shocked and they realized who it was. Lang Yi said, those 2 people are terrifying and sly. Let's go. Ho Qing Lin nodded. Lang Yi and he had fought against Chu Chun Chiu in the past. Chu Chun Chiu was terrifyingly strong and sly. He had always been discreet until a short time ago. Tianhun was a legendary saint, and also dangerous. The 5 friends retreated. Chu Chun Chiu and Saint Tianhun were startled, and chased them instantly. Chu Chun Chiu released some sky-absorbing King Dao intent in waves, carrying everything away. Nobody could dodge it. Saint Tianhuan's eyes looked bestial and sly. A soul spear emerged from his third eye. The 5 friends were already under pressure. Lang Yi and the others frowned. They continued running but Ho Qing Lin said, let's fight. Fight. Ice-cold lights twinkled in Ruo Xie's eyes. Fight. Jun Mo Shi and Ho Chin Lin nodded. Jian Mang remained silent, but his qi emerged and increased. However, the five friends didn't stop. They were still flying fast enough to make the air shriek around them. They knew that they were in danger, and were already far from the crowd. "Move," said Lang Yi. In the twinkling of an eye, the five friends suddenly stopped and turned around. They all released a terrifying qi. "Slow," said Wuxia. The incoming pair were suddenly slowed down. At the same time, his sword streaked across the sky. In front of him, Jian Mang's light sword appeared and cut into the soul spear. A death spear emerged from Jun Mo Shi's third eye and collided with the enemy's soul spear as well. Lang Yi and Ho Chin Lin used different attacks. After a few seconds, the soul spear was broken. At that moment, Chu Chunqiu and Saint Tianhun arrived not far from them. Their qi was terrifying. A mighty and arrogant king appeared behind Chu Chunqiu. He stepped forwards and absorbed the strength of the earth and sky. He turned into a terrifying vortex. Ho Chin Lin and the others sensed that their souls, intent, and physical bodies were trembling. "Die," said Tianhun. A terrifying black light emerged from his third eye. He waved his hand and terrifying black chains appeared and condensed. Those chains could constrict people's souls. A reincarnation sword appeared, followed by a reincarnation vortex. The absorbing vortex and the reincarnation vortex collided. A terrifying wind started blowing. Lang Yi was surrounded by world lights, destroying their foes' strength. At the same time, he stepped forwards. He said to Jian Mang telepathically, "Come with me, let's fight against Chu Chunqiu." Jian Mang nodded. Lang Yi disappeared and reappeared in front of Chu Chunqiu. A world coffin descended from the sky. At the same time, 8 world lights surrounded Chu Chunqiu, and he disappeared inside. Jian Mang also arrived, his light sword slicing through everything. His light strength was dazzling. "Arg!" Chu Chunqiu shouted furiously. He wanted nothing more than to absorb the king body before him. The world lights and light sword were surrounded by his energies. He raised his hands and released explosive intent with the force of a landslide and the power of a tidal wave. The terrifying intent bore down on Lang Yi and Jian Mang. The two fighters pulled long faces. They didn't feel safe at all, but they persisted and attacked. "Absorb," said Chu Chunqiu. He didn't flinch. Lang Yi and Jian Mang sensed the danger rising. 9 words. Lang Yi started chanting an incantation which resonated with the earth and sky. A dazzling world sword appeared in Lang Yi's hand, then descended from the sky. It looked like it could split the world. On the other side, Jun Mo Shi, Wuxia and Ho Chin Lin were fighting against Tianhun. Their battle was terrifying, too. People in the outside world were shaken. 2 people were fighting against a group of 5 extremely strong fighters at par. Who's number 5? He keeps releasing absorbing qi. How aggressive. And the other one has some terrifying attacks too, he can attack people's souls. Of course, those 5 people are scary too. What a terrifying battle. The 2 fighters can't defeat those 5 people, I think, unless another terrifying cultivator joins them, wondered the crowd, after studying Chu Chunqiu and Tianhu. On the other side, Lin Feng and the others were still moving. In a few minutes, they had traveled over an incredible distance and they didn't stop. Lin Feng didn't turn around even once. Even though he was confident, he knew he couldn't deal with that great deployment master, the spiritual body, and the young beast masters at the same time. He had tried to fight against some young beast masters before, and he knew how terrifying they were. "Qin Feng," said Lin Feng when he saw Qin Feng chasing after him. "Don't worry about me." Qin Feng said nothing, and continued following Lin Feng. "Feng," said Jing when she saw Qin Feng. She also continued following. Wu also followed them. He streaked across the sky, leaving a beautiful and magnificent trail behind him. "You think you can escape," said the spiritual body coldly. Each time he took a step, deployment lights intertwined under his feet. A strong wind started blowing near Lin Feng, which made him frown. Someone arrived near Lin Feng and said to the spiritual body, "Stop." The spiritual body was stupefied. He stopped and looked at the strong cultivator. He smiled coldly and said, "Who are you?" "Jiuling Huang." "Red Cloud's first master." "Interesting," the spiritual body smiled. He didn't know how strong the first master of Red Clouds was. He wanted to test him out and see. Lin Feng stopped flapping his wings and suddenly turned around. When he saw Jiuling Huang face the spiritual body, he warned him, "Be careful, that guy is terrifying. He's a reincarnated saint." The spiritual body looked at Lin Feng coldly, murder in his eyes. Then, he turned to Jiuling Huang coldly. "Lin Feng, are you not running away anymore?" said the few young beast masters when they arrived. Their blood-chi wings blotted out the sky and covered the earth. In the end, Lei Dong Tian also arrived. A terrifying battle was on the verge of breaking out. Chapter 2177, Furious Battle. The spiritual body, the four young beast masters, Lei Dong Tian, 6 people, none of them weak. Lei Dong Tian was the weakest one in that group. The spiritual body, as well as the third young beast master, were the strongest ones. However, Jiuling Huang was the first master of Red Clouds. His fighting abilities were probably awesome. He was facing the spiritual body. He didn't fear him. Lin Feng didn't know how strong Qin Feng was. Wu could probably only fight against Lei Dong Tian and the 6th young beast master. The others were too strong. Regarding the cold and detached-looking woman, Jing, Lin Feng didn't know whether she was going to help or not. He did know she was extremely strong. Even though Lin Feng had seen her when he had the form of a cauldron, he didn't know how strong she really was. Lin Feng's group could have benefited from having one more person. Their enemies, as long as the 6 of them didn't stay together to surround someone, wasn't considered a violation of the rules. "Feng," said Jing, landing next to Qin Feng. She didn't want to participate in the battle. She was worried about Qin Feng. Qin Feng looked quite calm as she glanced at her and asked, "What are you doing here?" "Their bestial qi is dirty, it's not pure. They're evil. I'll help you fight against them," said Jing calmly. A sword appeared in her hand. It looked as cold as water in the fall, and at the same time, as dazzling red leaves in the fall. It was a phoenix sword, beautiful, cold, and noble. The young beast masters were furious because Jing had humiliated them. They all released bestial qi. The 5th young beast master looked at Jing and Qin Feng mockingly and said, "Oh, you're phoenixes, I'll have a taste." The other young beast masters looked at them greedily and mockingly, without the slightest scruple. "Thank you," said Qin Feng in a sharp and clear voice. Jing was startled. Then, she smiled in a resplendent way and said, "Feng, you're saying thanks to me?" Jing looked at Lin Feng. Qin Feng really wanted to help him. After that, they turned to the young beast masters coldly. Fires started burning. However, it was an ice-cold fire. Jing's sword was getting colder and colder. Slash! Sword lights twinkled. The young beast masters' faces changed slightly. They just saw the sword turn into an ancient phoenix and shooting towards them at full speed. It was explosively threatening. At the same time, the ice-cold fire Dao power surrounded them. Jing then moved faster than they could see. When Qin Feng saw that, she followed. She couldn't let Jing fight alone against the 4 terrifying and sly beasts. Wu followed Qin Feng. The golden crow's strength was explosive and scorching hot. A golden crow's sun sword appeared above him, as well as scorching hot cosmic energies. "Qin Feng, Wu, try to hold on a little bit more, I'll be there with you soon," said Lin Feng when he saw that those 3 people were fighting against the 3 young beast masters. He was furious, releasing demon chi which shot up the sky. His eyes became ice-cold, filled with death strength. He was staring at Lei Dong Tian. Lei Dong Tian suddenly looked almost dead. Lin Feng wanted to take care of Lei Dong Tian first, and kill him. Lei Dong Tian looked at Lin Feng. He was also furious, thinking how arrogant and insolent Lin Feng was. "Last time, you lost and escaped, and now you dare act that arrogantly. You want to die," swore Lei Dong Tian coldly. "I initially wanted to kill you later, but since you keep provoking me, I'll kill you now," replied Lin Feng, releasing his 9-dragon spirit. 10,000 king weapons intent filled the air, swords condensed. A dozen swords turned into intertwining Holy Spirit swords. They flared with light. The 10,000 weapons intent fused together with them. Lin Feng looked at Lei Dong Tian disdainfully. His chi had changed. On the other side, Jiu Ling Huang and the reincarnated Great Deployment Master started fighting too. 9 flames appeared, full of enigmatic and unfathomable power. The space around them turned into a fire world. Nothing could grow in such a landscape. The Great Deployment Master's deployment spells were deadly as well. He could release deployment spells in the blink of an eye. "Red Cloud's first master, we'll see how strong you are," said the reincarnated Great Deployment Master, standing there with his hands clasped behind his back. He was aloof and composed. He used his godly awareness to condense a deployment spell. Thousands of beasts started roaring, and flew towards Jiu Ling Huang. However, Jiu Ling Huang's 9 flames merged into one and burned everything in their way. "Die!" A deployment sword streaked across the sky and moved towards Jiu Ling Huang. He grunted coldly. He raised his hands, as if he could burn the world with his fingertips. They were shining with lights, and then the sword started burning. In the outside world, people were astonished. Jiu Ling Huang was Red Cloud's first master, and was, without a doubt, extremely strong. However, number 2, whom nobody knew of, was also incredibly strong. He didn't struggle to fight against Jiu Ling Huang. He kept casting deployment spells, and it looked easy for him. Such people were terrifying. He had come out of the fake world just after Hua Qing Feng, no wonder he was so strong. Very few people knew about him. He hadn't been in the celestial remarkable deployment ministry for very long. At the same time, Lin Feng's sword streaked across the sky. A dazzling beam of light appeared in the sky, as a hurricane surrounded the sword and moved towards Lei Dong Tian. Lei Dong Tian sensed how terrifying the sword was and frowned. He released and condensed Devamara Kulpa lights, which turned into halberds. He shouted furiously and attacked that sword. The halberds all shattered loudly. Lei Dong Tian shouted desperately again. He condensed demon strength again and tried to block the sword moving towards him. Lin Feng also descended from the sky with a sharp sword in his hand, staring at Lei Dong Tian coldly, his eyes filled with death strength and penetrating into Lei Dong Tian's godly awareness. Lei Dong Tian's face stiffened. He hadn't anticipated this sword would be so terrifying. The sky became dark, demon clouds thundered. Kulpa lights descended from the sky and condensed destructive strength. "Die!" shouted Lin Feng explosively. At the same time, Wisdom Kings emerged from his third eye and streamed towards Lei Dong Tian's head, turning into demon kings. Lei Dong Tian's face turned deathly pale. However, he released more Devamara Kulpa strength towards Lin Feng. Thunder cracked and boomed. Lin Feng's hair fluttered in the wind as Devamara Kulpa lights bombarded him. His muscles twitched and shook, however, he stood his ground steadfastly and even absorbed some Devamara Kulpa strength which he used to cleanse his muscles. Lin Feng had practiced the Kulpa indestructible Devamara skill, he obviously could use Devamara Kulpa strength to cleanse his body. Devamara Kulpa strength couldn't pose a threat to him. How is that possible? Lei Dongtian was astonished, his face frozen. Lin Feng waved his hands again, and another gigantic sword shot towards Lei Dongtian. He couldn't do anything anymore, and pulled a long face. Explode! Lightning made of Kulpa strength descended from the sky. For a moment, the sky went dark. Lin Feng glanced at him coldly, continuing to move his sword towards Dongtian. It could cut through anything. Lei Dongtian's face was unsightly. The air was vibrating ominously. Lin Feng wasn't going to let him off. His sword moved faster than the eye. At the same time, he kept releasing sword energies. Lei Dongtian was stuck. You really think I lost last time? Ridiculous. Lin Feng told Lei Dongtian. His voice resonated in Lei Dongtian's skull. Lei Dongtian could neither dodge nor escape. He raised his fist and punched out in Lin Feng's direction. Lightning struck Lin Feng, detonating loudly. It's useless, said Lin Feng coldly. Bones cracked loudly, Lei Dongtian's arm was broken. At the same time, the sword lights arrived. Lei Dongtian's face was frozen in fear, he wanted to run away. Lin Feng stretched out his arm, still holding his gigantic sword. Sword intent shot towards Lei Dongtian, and his face fell. Lin Feng took a step towards him, his 9 dragons roared, eager to devour Lei Dongtian. Is Lei Dongtian dead? The people in Godly Cloud City were staring at the battle in astonishment. The members of the Devamara Thunder clan were frozen with dread, releasing chi which rose to the skies. Lei Dongtian was dead. The first young man of the Devamara Thunder clan had been killed. He was supposed to end up in the top 100 of the meeting of the continent of the 9 clouds. However, Lin Feng had just killed him during the second round. Lei Dongtian had chased Lin Feng, and Lin Feng had killed him. Lei Dongtian could only blame himself. The 9 dragons moved back behind Lin Feng. They had underestimated Lin Feng's strength once again. Lei Dongtian had been killed. Lin Feng truly had the potential to end up in the top 100. Lei Dongtian had died in tragic circumstances. He had chased Lin Feng and, poor him, Lin Feng had killed him. If he hadn't promised something to Lin Feng back then and then taken his word back, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Chapter 2178, Furious Sword. Just like Lin Feng had said to the girls, killing Lei Dongtian wouldn't take him long, so he would join them soon. He didn't think about what people outside thought, he didn't think about the fact that the Devamara Thunder clan hated him either. Lei Dongtian had sold him out, so Lin Feng's reaction was normal. He glanced around with his pitch-black eyes. The reincarnated Great Deployment Master was extremely strong. Red Cloud's first master, Jiuling Huang, was also extremely strong. The reincarnated Great Deployment Master's deployment spells were too fearsome. He could release formidable deployment spells almost every second, and they were becoming more and more powerful. Jiuling Huang's 9 flames were also getting more and more powerful. At least, he wasn't going to lose quickly, even if he lost. Reincarnated Great Deployment Master. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled with ice-cold lights. On the other side, Qing Feng and the 2 others were being oppressed. The young beast masters were terrifyingly strong. The weakest one was the 6th, and he was fighting against Wu, pressuring him back. The young beast master's strength originated from the sacrifices of countless beasts, hence their polluted blood. Qing Feng was, against all expectations, really strong. She was the strongest of the group of 3. Jing, the ice-cold-looking woman, was also really strong. She kept beating her fire phoenix wings, a magnificent sight. They were oppressed, but they weren't going to lose easily, either. They were too fast. Lin Feng flapped his wings and streaked across the sky. He flew like a celestial being. The young beast masters looked at Lin Feng coldly. First, crush that Qing Feng, brother, oppress her, said the third beast to the fifth beast. Fissures appeared as the air began to whistle furiously. Jing's sharp fire sword moved. A fire intent burned the atmosphere around her. However, she realized that the third beast and the fourth beast weren't next to her anymore, they were flying towards Qing Feng. Dragons were the strongest beasts in the animal world. In terms of speed, great rocks were considered the fastest animals. Wu was a great oriental greenfinch rock, his blood was pure. The young beast masters had the abilities of many beasts, since many beasts had been sacrificed for them. They were a bit stronger than other beasts. As for their wings, they had all chosen to have the wings of great oriental greenfinch rocks, because they knew great oriental greenfinch rocks were the fastest animals. Great rock's wings were better than phoenix's wings. Of course, phoenixes were better in terms of fire and they were nicknamed the immortal supernatural birds. At the same time, the fifth young beast master took out a great rock sword, which shot towards Qing Feng. He wanted to defeat Qing Feng no matter what. Oh no! Lin Feng looked worried. The three beasts were ganging up on Qing Feng. They wanted to destroy her and then take care of the others. Feng, back! Jing called out, extremely nervous. She was still holding her sword as she flew towards her friend, a trail of flames appeared behind her. She was surrounded by fire, bathing in the flames. Celestial Phoenix rotating wings, shouted Jing furiously. The scene was incredible and breathtakingly beautiful. On Jing's back, a dazzling fire phoenix appeared and turned into a sword, then a beam of light. It shot out towards Qing Feng, the air burning around the phoenix. It was an astonishing and beautiful sight. Lin Feng was also fast. He flew towards Qing Feng at top speed, beating his deployment wings while condensing sword intent in his hand. Other people couldn't catch up with him. Even the young beast masters were shocked at his speed. A golden great rock sword moved towards Lin Feng's sharp sword, sharp qi moving in all directions around him. Qing Feng, be careful, shouted Lin Feng explosively. The third young beast master and the fourth young beast master arrived at the same time from two different directions. Their blood wings were spread as they blotted out the sky. They were also extremely fast, however, their enemies weren't slow either. Qing Feng was startled, and knew that she couldn't escape, surrounded by the enemies. She released an incredible amount of explosive cosmic energies. A cyan phoenix appeared all around her body and enveloped her in its wings. Dong! The third young beast master attacked, crackling sound spread in the air, it sounded like the wings had been broken. Feng, shouted Jing furiously. The atmosphere was burning around her. The third young beast master was surprised and moved back. The fourth beast flapped his wings. Fresh blood splashed. Qing Feng was smashed away. Lin Feng finally arrived and caught Qing Feng. He released sharp sword energies and moved back while releasing life qi into Qing Feng's body. Qing Feng's wings were wounded, and she kept bleeding, her face extremely pale. She was breathing quickly and shallowly, but her qi still pulsed around her, and she looked awake and determined. She looked at Lin Feng and shook her head, I have phoenix blood, I'm alright. Jing also arrived next to Qing Feng. She then turned around and looked at the young beast masters. Let's stop fighting for now. She needs to recover. Let's protect her, said Lin Feng to Jing. Jing was surprised, but nodded. She looked at their enemies. If they stopped fighting, would the young beast masters stop fighting too? The young beast masters kept flapping their blood wings. Lin Feng looked at them with murder in his eyes. He was still releasing life cosmic energies, which flowed throughout Qing Feng's body. Lin Feng also looked at Jiuling Huang in the distance and said, Jiuling Huang, let's pause for now. We don't need to fight until exhaustion. Thank you. After that, Lin Feng said to Wu, let's withdraw. Lin Feng was still carrying Qin Feng in his arms as he descended from the sky. Jing and Wu followed Lin Feng closely. At the same time, they retreated from the fight. If Qin Feng hadn't been injured, it would have been better, but now that she was injured, she needed to be protected, which meant that they couldn't fight at the same time. They had to move away and wait for Qin Feng to recover. The young beast masters followed them closely, watching coldly. But they were also wary of Jing. 2 female phoenixes, we should capture them and keep them as sex slaves, the 5th young beast master said coldly. Take care of Qin Feng for a short time, Lin Feng said to Jing, stopping for a few seconds. Jing looked at Lin Feng and nodded. She took Qin Feng, and Lin Feng stepped forwards. 9 words appeared, resonating at the same pace as the earth and sky. They floated around Lin Feng, while his qi rolled in waves around him. He stretched his hand out and cast a celestial stage deployment spell. The young beast masters were startled. What was Lin Feng doing? Did he want to fight against them alone? Terrifying cosmic energies emerged from Lin Feng's arms, containing the strength of the 10,000 things of creation. A dozen Holy Spirit's swords condensed. 9 words appeared on the swords. The swords were getting more and more powerful, before turning into a brilliant sword. The young beast masters stopped moving. The strength of the 10,000 things of creation was intertwining. They turned into a system of cosmic energies, a world of cosmic energies. Go, ordered Lin Feng. The sword streaked across the sky. The celestial battle stage deployment spell moved towards the 5th young beast master. Be careful, said the other young beast masters to him. They were stunned, turning and trying to leave. The 5th young beast master released his bestial chi and condensed a great rock sword. However, it broke in the twinkling of an eye. The young beast masters' faces had changed drastically. A shield made of blood lights appeared, horrible shrieks rose up. Lin Feng's sword had pierced through it. The 5th young beast master reappeared, his face pale and severely wounded and bleeding now. Lin Feng's energies had pierced through his body and left a hole in him. The young beast master's facial expressions changed drastically and they started gathering on the 5th young beast master. Let's go, said Lin Feng calmly, and turned around. Jing looked at Lin Feng, thinking, how strong. 1 sword attack and he had nearly cut the 5th young beast master apart. Even though Lin Feng's sword attack hadn't killed him, it was extremely fast. That you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.